I was supposed to be a carefree king of the forest, a magnificent northeast tiger. Yet here I am, willingly trading my freedom to surrender myself to the state. To everyone watching, it looks like I am just looking for a free meal, but they have no idea what is coming soon. A blood-red rain, unprecedented in history, is about to sweep across the globe. When that happens, all flora and fauna will begin a rapid evolution. In the blink of an eye, humanity will plummet from the top of the food chain into the abyss. Back when I was in my previous life, a black tiger appeared in this very zoo. It awakened the legendary SSS grade talent, Devour, the ability to swallow the talents of other living beings. The war god of Huasha, Xingtian, was the one who absorbed that black tiger's beast core. That was how he rose to become an absolute powerhouse. But I have entered the zoo ahead of time. As soon as the blood rain falls and the black tiger condenses its energy into a crystal core, I will seize the chance to slaughter it, devour its core, and I will be the one to claim its talent for myself. Even though this move is incredibly risky, and I might very well be killed by the humans first. But looking at that black tiger sprawled in the corner of the cage, I know I have placed my bet, and I am going to win. Mom, look, there is a big black one over there too. Why is not it moving? Is the big kitty sick? Through the reinforced glass, the little girl asks, confused. In the corner of the tiger enclosure, there lay a bulky fat black tiger, covered in sleek black fur, fast asleep and snoring loudly on the ground. Including me, there are 4 tigers in total in this enclosure. I am the only exception here. Unlike them, the other 3 have stayed in the zoo for too long, fed by keepers every single day. All they do is eat and sleep. They have long lost their primal wild instincts, which is why they are just tubs of lard now. They barely reach 2 meters in length, miles apart from my size. Looking at these 3 lazy fat cats, I feel nothing but contempt. When it comes to raw combat power, these 3 are definitely no match for me, but that is a good thing. When the night of the blood rain arrives, I need to possess the absolute overwhelming strength to slaughter the black tiger and seize its crystal core. Even though I have entered the zoo, and I am enjoying the 3 meals a day provided by the keepers, I have not slacked off at all. Every day, I keep up with my training, honing my predatory hunting skills. On that night of the blood rain, every creature on Earth will undergo its initial evolution, and the extent of this initial evolution is closely tied to the physical strength of the creature itself. The stronger the physique, the greater the power gained from the initial evolution. This is also why, at the very beginning, fearsome beasts far surpass humans in power. Time flies, and now it is June 15th. As darkness descends, the noisy zoo during the day slowly falls into an eerie silence. I cast a cold glance at the black tiger, currently deep in its slumber. A flash of malice flickers in my eyes. The dawn of this night will mark the beginning of the blood rain and the global evolution. And at this moment, there is only half an hour until dawn. To make sure nothing goes wrong, I decide to beat the black tiger into a critical state first, so I can snatch its crystal core the very second it drops. With that thought, I walk directly toward it, accompanied by a shrill, miserable howl. A moment later, the black tiger is already lying on the ground, gasping for air. It has been in the zoo for too long. This black tiger has long since gone soft, to the point where it has even forgotten basic hunting techniques. How could it possibly be a match for me? Fresh out of the jungle, my eyes coldly sweep across the rest of the enclosure. The other 2 tigers are whining, too scared to take a single step forward. They are not worth a second thought. From now on, I will stand guard over the black tiger, waiting silently for the dawn to arrive. As time passed, a deafening thunderclap suddenly erupted. The moonlight in the sky vanished, replaced by thick, suffocating dark clouds. It is finally starting. Seeing this, my tiger eyes flashed with intensity. The next moment, a downpour of blood began to fall from the heavens. The other 2 tigers in the enclosure ran straight under the big tree to seek shelter from the rain. Bring it on. As for me, I dragged the black tiger, who was barely breathing, into the open field to fully embrace the baptism of the blood rain. This unprecedented blood rain is the key to the evolution of all life on Earth, and the very source of energy required for that evolution. Accepting the baptism directly will make the first evolution even more perfect. I tightly shut my tiger eyes amidst the heavy rain, letting the blood rain wash over my body. Gradually, I sensed something changing within me. A surge of scorching heat suddenly erupted. Soon after, that burning sensation intensified, eventually feeling like fire, forcing my eyes to turn crimson. Then I let out a long, thunderous roar. The intense sensation of my body being torn apart slowly consumed my consciousness. And while my own body was mutating, the black tiger beside me was also convulsing violently, looking like it was in immense pain. The wounds I had just inflicted with my claws were actually healing at a visible rate. The 2 tigers hiding under the tree were in a bad state too, letting out restless, anxious growls. I do not know how much time passed, but the agonizing pain within me finally faded away. At this moment, my size had grown from 3 meters to 5. My dark yellow fur had taken on a golden sheen, the texture becoming as thick and stiff as steel needles. My sharp claws and fangs were even more, gleaming with a chilling metallic edge. Feeling the immense power contained within my body, I could not help but roar at the sky. Simultaneously, memories akin to a bloodline awakening flooded into my mind. Frenzy. It can instantly amplify physical attributes tenfold. It was actually an A-grade innate ability. Whether it be a beast or a human, the innate ability awakened depends on the quality of one's own bloodline. The more superior the bloodline, the stronger the awakened ability. Although an A-grade ability is not top tier, it is certainly above average. But having been reborn, my goal is to become the strongest beast emperor. A mere A-grade ability is obviously not enough to satisfy me. No. It is time to finish you. My gaze suddenly shifted to the black tiger nearby, my whole body filled with killing intent. At this point, a power crystal must have condensed within the black tiger. After being baptized by the blood rain, the black tiger's size had also increased to over 3 meters, emitting an aura that belonged to a beast. Yet the black tiger was still quite dazed at this moment. Lacking true consciousness, it clearly did not understand what had just happened. Seeing me approach, and feeling the killing intent radiating from my body, it recoiled in fear. I let out a roar, then immediately triggered the innate ability, Frenzy. Instantly, a terrifying aura erupted from my body, and my size increased from 5 meters to 7, looking at me suddenly going wild before its eyes. The black tiger let out uneasy roars, panic filling its eyes. My expression remained icy cold, with not a hint of mercy. I slashed down with my sharp claws, and amidst its agonizing screams, I ruthlessly tore its body apart. Crimson blood spilled all over the ground. Watching the brutal process of me slaughtering the black tiger, the 2 remaining tigers in the enclosure trembled in absolute terror. And at this moment, I looked at the crystal in my hand. My tiger eyes are burning with intensity. The next second, I swallowed that black crystal core in one gulp. Not long after it hit my stomach, my body reacted instantly. A surge of potent primordial energy coursed through me, eventually merging with my own power yielding crystal core. Feeling the raw power surging through my entire body, I estimated my strength had reached stage 1, intermediate. At the same time, a wave of information flooded my brain. Devour. Capable of devouring the primordial power of all living beings in the world, to make it my own. Seeing this, my heart raced with joy. Reborn, risking my life to voluntarily enter this Zhonghai Zoo, was all for the sake of obtaining this Devour ability. Now, at last, the desire is fulfilled. At this moment, my heart is filled with pure ambition. In my past life, the war god Xingqian used the Devour ability to command terrifying power, capable of contending with the 3 sovereign-level beasts. But now that I possess it in this life, I will completely surpass the war god Xingqian, and become the new pinnacle of power. Now, it is time to leave this place. Looking at the sky, the blood rain is still pouring down. It is the perfect cover to slip out of the Zhonghai Zoo. This is, after all, human territory. I have not fully matured yet. If I were to face heavy weaponry, I might not be able to handle it. And being a ferocious beast now, having gained the Devour ability, my place is back in the wild to hunt other beasts. Furthermore, in the mountains, due to the infusion of the blood rain, some plants have also evolved, bearing all sorts of heavenly treasures. I recall that in the Dali mountain range outside the Zhonghai suburbs, a thunder origin fruit appeared at the very start of the evolution. If I can get there first, I will be able to harness the power of thunder and lightning. Thinking of this, I instantly activated my berserk ability, lashed out with my claws, and effortlessly sliced through the reinforced glass. I leapt out of the tiger enclosure. Following my memories, I headed toward the entrance of the zoo. But just then, my body suddenly tensed. My eyes turned cold in an instant. I felt the aura of a ferocious beast. It seems that in this zoo, other animals have also successfully awakened innate abilities. I hesitated for a moment. Then I slowly crept toward that aura, while simultaneously concealing my own presence. Since another beast has awakened, it must have condensed a power-yielding crystal core in its body. Having just obtained the Devour ability, I certainly would not let such a good opportunity slip. Soon I tracked that aura to the reptile section. Looking through the sound-insulating reinforced glass, I immediately spotted the beast inside. Before me was a massive snake, over 10 meters long, its entire body emitting a faint silvery glow. But for the moment, the silver snake seemed to be in some pain. It opened its wide, bloodthirsty maw, spitting out terrifying cold air. Wherever the silver python passed, the ground froze into a layer of ice crystals. Seeing the scene, a gleam flashed in my eyes. The silver python has clearly just finished evolving, and has not fully mastered its own abilities yet. This is the perfect time for me to strike. Thinking of this, I did not hesitate at all. I immediately sliced through the reinforced glass in front of me. The sudden commotion instantly grabbed the silver python's attention. Sensing the aura radiating from me, it became vigilant immediately. Fierce light flickered in its snake pupils. The next moment, neither the tiger nor the snake wasted any time. I directly activated my berserk ability. Terrifying power surged throughout my body. My tiger frame grew instantly. I charged straight at the silver python. While the silver python let out a sharp hiss, it thrashed its massive snake tail, sweeping it toward me. With a decade's worth of experience battling fierce beasts in my past life, I dodged the silver python's attack with ease. My sharp tiger claws struck its body at the perfect moment. It was almost effortless. I left a gaping wound on the silver python's body. Crimson blood immediately sprayed out. The silver python felt the pain, letting out a miserable hiss. Suddenly it lunged, opening its bloody maw wide. An alarming chill surged from its mouth. I was prepared. I leapt aside, dodging its freezing breath. Seeing its attack missed, the silver python prepared to strike again. But I was not about to give it the chance. I closed in and swung my claws frantically. I slashed hard at its midsection. Strike the snake in its 7-inch mark and it stays dead. A python is no exception. The midsection is the most fatal spot on a python's body. My claws sank deep into its flesh, nearly ripping its organs out. Having suffered such heavy damage, the silver python lost its combat ability instantly. Its huge body thrashed on the ground, painting the floor with crimson blood. Finish it while it is down. I pierced the silver head with one more strike. It twitched a few times, then went still. I took a deep breath. With burning eyes, I reached into the silver python's body and dug out a snowy white ability crystal. Without a second of hesitation, I gulped the crystal down. Simultaneously, I triggered my devour ability. I felt a bone-chilling cold coursing through my body, as if it were rewriting my physical structure. A moment later, a layer of frost glimmered over my golden fur. Frost breath, a B-rank talent, capable of exhaling freezing ice power. The next second, I opened my tiger jaws. A chilling mist suddenly blasted out, landing on the remains of the silver python. In an instant, a layer of ice crystals condensed on its body. I was extremely satisfied. Though it is merely a B-rank talent, I am not complaining at all. One more talent means one more ace up my sleeve. And as I continue to evolve, the power of this frost breath will surely grow stronger. I slapped the silver corpse, shattering the ice crystals. Then I opened my maw wide and began feasting on the giant python's flesh. This battle took its toll. I expended quite a bit of energy. Even though the silver python just awakened, its flesh still contained substantial energy. A while later, I stood proudly by a mangled carcass, looking perfectly content. I am full. Too full, perhaps. Walking with swagger, I passed through the shattered reinforced glass, leapt, and cleared the 3-meter-high zoo perimeter wall. Target, Dolly Mountain Range. After leaving the zoo, I galloped down the street fearlessly. Fortunately, it was pouring rain right now. The zoo is located in a remote area. At this hour, there were no pedestrians or vehicles. Otherwise, I would have caused a huge scene, even though the blood rain has fallen, triggering the path of evolution. The wildlife in the Dolly Mountain Range is still mostly feral, because their intelligence has not fully bloomed. Right now, they are likely still killing each other by raw instinct. They probably would not even notice such a treasure as the thunder origin fruit. The next morning, the global blood rain finally stopped. Beyond the faint scent of blood lingering in the air, everything seemed as it was. Yet, the energy brought by the crimson rain was silently, imperceptibly remaking all living things. Inside the Zhonghai Zoo, Huang Kang keyed in his radio to begin the day's shift. I am arriving at the tiger enclosure now, starting my daily rounds and security check. Old Huang, why so serious? A sharp, mocking man's voice came through the radio. We are just low-level security guards. The maintenance crew checks the facilities regularly anyway. Just go through the motions. Finish the patrol quickly, then come have a drink with me. Hearing this, Huang Kang ignored him and continued along the familiar path toward the tiger enclosure. Suddenly, he saw shattered glass spread everywhere. His expression shifted instantly. He stepped forward to check, following the tracks with his eyes. He saw a trail of unmistakable footprints around the tempered glass, seemingly leading out of the enclosure. No way. Huang Kang's face turned pale in an instant. He rushed into the tiger enclosure to investigate further, and what he saw was catastrophic. The black tiger, once the pride of the zoo, now lay lifeless on the ground, covered in blood, especially around its neck, where there were deep wounds. Report, emergency. He did not hesitate, quickly grabbing the radio. Director, the black tiger in the enclosure seems to have been killed by another beast. The carcass is right at the entrance. Also, the tempered glass of the enclosure is shattered. I do not see the Siberian tiger that just arrived. I suspect it has escaped the zoo and is now wandering somewhere in the city. What? The director looked visibly stunned. Within minutes, the director arrived, with several staff members in a frantic frantic scramble to the zoo. They truly found wreckage all over the place, and the carcass of the black tiger was particularly glaring. For a moment, he felt as if struck by lightning, standing there dazed for a long time, before roaring out in a fit of rage. "What are you all staring at? Go find that Siberian tiger, now." The group immediately scattered in a hurry. The director walked toward the black tiger, trembling, his heart filled with grief. My poor Blackie. After venting his emotions for a while, he finally regained some composure. But seeing Huang Kang still standing by, he barked in anger. "Go find that Siberian tiger. Be quick about it, no matter the cost. You must neutralize it at once." As he spoke, he seemingly grasped a terrifying possibility, his tone growing even more severe. "If that Siberian tiger hurts anyone, it won't just be me who has to answer for it, but you too. None of you will escape the consequences." Not long after, Zhonghai Zoo issued a notice, announcing a temporary closure, publicly stating it was for maintenance and security upgrades. While the containment operation was in full swing, the internet blew up. More and more people joined the discussion, and the topic of last night's bizarre crimson rain soon became a trending subject. Everyone, it is not just the rain. Even my pet suddenly underwent a massive change. Just then, a netizen posted a thread and attached a video to it. Countless curious netizens clicked the video, but were quickly horrified by what they saw. The netizen's large yellow dog in the video looked like it had gone mad, tearing into everything in sight. Fortunately, it was eventually taken down by the arriving police, but it still caused 5 or 6 casualties. And situations like this are becoming common, popping up overnight, just as netizens were buzzing with frantic discussions. After a grueling day and night of trekking, I finally reached the Dali mountain range on the outskirts of Zhonghai City. At this moment, I lift my tiger head, staring at the lush mountain range ahead, and reveal a faint human-like smile. This thunder origin fruit is mine for the taking. In my previous life, a giant bear in the depths of these mountains seemed to have swallowed that very thunder origin fruit, gaining the power of lightning. That bear eventually became a fearsome beast rampaging through Zhonghai City, known as the Thunder Bear. To think that just one thunder origin fruit could achieve such things shows just how extraordinary it is. I certainly cannot afford to miss such a treasure. Gradually, information about this in my memory becomes clearer, and my heart begins to race. I hope I am not too late. I do not know if, after a full day and night, the thunder origin fruit has already been devoured by that giant bear. As I dash forward, I use my powerful sense of smell as a northeast tiger, constantly feeling for the aura radiating from the thunder origin fruit. But perhaps because the distance is still too great, I cannot perceive any relevant scent at all. Helpless, I can only push deep into the Dali mountain range. Deep in the Dali mountain range at the same time, all sorts of oppressive roars echo incessantly, driving the smaller beasts in the forest to flee. In the deepest part of the Dali mountain range, in a rare clearing within the woods, there is a small mound only half human high. Growing on this mound is a peculiar tree with silver branches and leaves. The following is part of the novel. Readers who want to continue, download the QQ Reader app. Search for Beginning Evolution Divine Tiger. The first result is the one. The silver tree is unremarkable, only about waist high. However, due to its peculiar color, it stands out as something different. Right at the top of the center trunk rests a fruit completely silver white, covered with fine streak-like electrical patterns, and shimmering with light. The fruit is only the size of a child's fist, with an uneven, textured surface. Faint arcs of electricity flash across it from time to time, but because it was masked by its own flickering glow, this point had not been noticed by others. As time passed, a large number of fierce beasts gathered around the thunder origin fruit. All of them are staring intently at the silver fruit with heated gazes, extremely excited, as if their very blood is flowing faster. Although the fierce beasts present have not awakened their intelligence, their instincts tell them that as long as they swallow this silver fruit, they could become much stronger and become the masters of this forest, to act as they please. Therefore, more and more beasts are growling, or uneasily digging at the ground with their front paws, inching bit by bit toward the silver fruit. And in the very front of all the fierce beasts are a few beasts that have already awakened. They not only look more massive, but even their personal energy pressures the other beasts into hesitating and staying frozen in place. At the northernmost side of the silver fruit is a black wild boar covered in tough, bristly hair. A pair of yellowish tusks still has wet bloodstains on them, and it is chewing slightly, as if it is swallowing something. Facing the black wild boar, it was a creature with a sleek, aerodynamic build, a giant wolf with silver fur. This giant wolf, 2 meters long, already rivaled the size of the black boar. With cunning eyes, it restlessly clawed at the spiritual barrier. Most shocking of all, the silver giant wolf could actually spew terrifying flames from its maw. In the direction it came from lay a scattered wreckage of charred beast carcasses. The black boar and the silver giant wolf were absolute tyrants among the beasts present. Their very presence was enough to intimidate most of the other beasts. However, at this moment, their gazes aligned, all fixed upon one massive dark shadow. There sat a giant bear, 5 meters tall, thick-set and hulking, lounging casually in the mountain forest like a human. Its fierce gaze was constantly sweeping over the black boar and the silver giant wolf. The three most powerful beasts were currently sizing each other up, eyes filled with hostility, each one craving to devour that silver fruit, to become the king of these woods. All three powerful awakened beasts were cautiously eyeing the others, making the atmosphere incredibly tense. The silver giant wolf even let out a low growl, with flames flickering in its throat, looking ready to pounce at the slightest provocation. The other two beasts were not backing down either, their roars rumbling like thunder. Suddenly, the light atop the silver fruit flickered. Instantly, it drew the attention of every beast in the clearing. After fully gestating for so long, it was about to fall from the branch. The once soft white glow began to strobe, like a short-circuiting light bulb, with increasing frequency. Following this, the giant black bear, the boar, and the silver giant wolf all took a deep sniff. A glint of greed flashed in their eyes. The silver fruit was finally ripening. An unimaginably seductive aroma began wafting from ahead. As a gentle breeze blew, the scent of the silver fruit began to drift in all directions, gradually spreading to the surrounding beasts. Instantly, chaos erupted. Every beast that caught a whiff of that aroma became crazily excited, their pupils burning with desire. Some beasts could not hold back any longer. With a thunderous roar, they rushed recklessly toward the silver tree. They even attacked anyone standing in their way indiscriminately. A series of muffled impacts exploded instantly, blood and flesh flying everywhere. Within seconds, it was like a shower of blood, splattering all around. Seemingly seduced by the smell of blood, the other beasts were equally driven mad. Almost all of them charged in all at once. A brutal slaughter belonging to the beasts erupted instantly. Just over a dozen meters from the silver tree, a 1-meter-long, heavily muscled white rabbit, eyes flashing red, charged into the swarm of beasts. Its sharp and massive incisors turned into lethal blades, brutally piercing into the other beasts. Dull thuds echoed immediately. On the giant rabbit's bright fur, bloody red stains appeared. This only further ignited its savagery. Pushing off with its powerful hind legs, it vaulted 4 or 5 meters, landing fiercely on a gray-brown beast, covered in thick sturdy scales, the pangolin. As soon as the pangolin lifted its head, 2 snowy tusks violently pierced into its body. It immediately let out a painful howl, accompanied by scales flying like snow. They scattered in all directions. In just a few short minutes, the pangolin's hard scales were all shredded by the white giant rabbit. Its bloody body was covered in scars. Finally, unable to hold on for more than a dozen seconds, it crashed to the ground. The white giant rabbit did not slow down, continuing its mad dash toward the silver tree. Any beast it targeted could not escape its sharp tusks. On the other side, the silver giant wolf, relying on its agile movements, dodged countless charges from the black boar, while spewing terrifying flames from its mouth, turning the surroundings into a furnace. Any beast that stepped into it would be roasted in no time. As time passed by, most of the beasts in the arena were dead. Most died from fighting each other. Those remaining were the strongest among the beasts. Besides the black giant bear, the boar, and the silver giant wolf, only 2 battered figures remained. Even the incredibly fierce white giant rabbit, at this moment, lay fallen less than 5 meters from the silver tree, its whole body already soaked in fresh blood. The black giant bear suddenly turned around, abandoning the boar and the giant wolf. Gathering its strength, it swung its massive forelimbs, striking towards the 2 beasts nearby simultaneously. 2 dull thuds rang out at the same time. The flesh and blood on those 2 beasts rippled like waves, and after a flash, they crashed down. Although it did not look like it from the outside, blood mixed with fragments flowed from their mouths. The giant bear's blow had actually pulverized their internal organs, with no other beasts intervening. In the arena, only the 3 strongest beasts were left. The silver giant wolf realized something was wrong, constantly growling at the black boar, and as it charged at the giant bear, it seized the opportunity to assist from the side. Gradually, the black boar understood. The silver giant wolf was seeking an alliance. Thus, it let down its guard slightly, prepared to finish off the black giant bear. The next moment, 2 flashes of cold light swept by, which were the silver giant wolf's sharp claws, piercing the black giant bear's shoulder. But the bear had thick skin and tough flesh. This injury was nothing. Seeing this, the black boar violently launched a charge, those incredibly terrifying tusks aiming straight at the giant bear's wound. However, it was swatted away by the bear the next instant. After tumbling a few times, it shook its head and stood up again, without having suffered any major harm. The black giant bear seemed unwilling to fight if the stalemate continued, especially with the wolf and boar teaming up, which could very likely leave it here permanently. Then, in the very next second, its figure suddenly grew larger, and its whole body radiated a dazzling golden light. The giant wolf and boar watched on, only to see the giant bear's arms and paws all turn golden. Their attacks landing on the giant bear sounded like metal clashing. After activating its ability, the giant bear's limbs had grown several times stronger, and this was the source of its power. A black wind flashed past. The silver giant wolf's pupils shrank violently. Then it felt an intense crushing pain in its waist, accompanied by the sound of breaking bones. The black giant bear's blow was a relentless pursuit of victory, a flurry of lightning-fast blows, swiftly leaving the giant wolf covered in blood. Unable to stand back up, the black boar began to show signs of retreat. Who would have expected the thunder bear to descend with such terrifying speed? Before he could react, a massive black shadow lunged down. The black thunder bear relied solely on his own might to crush all the other competing beasts. He immediately let out a roar to the sky, as if he were the unchallenged king of these mountains. After a brief moment of rest, the thunder bear turned his massive body toward the silver tree, preparing to pluck the alluring fruit, ready to slowly savor the spoils of victory. Suddenly, a deafening tiger roar erupted from behind. The thunder bear whipped his head around to find an 8-meter-long, massive tiger glaring at him with predatory eyes, radiating an overwhelming aura. I have descended upon the scene. Seeing the thunder origin fruit, my tiger eyes flashed with greed. Without a second of hesitation, I charged. I was thrilled. Is this the same thunder bear that devoured the thunder origin fruit in my past life? Truly powerful indeed, but still no match for me. Without wasting a heartbeat, the bear and I clashed in a bloody massacre. I opened with a berserker state, boosting my strength tenfold, then immediately unleashed the frost power of the silver python, striking the giant bear at his every weak point. The thunder bear, exhausted from previous battles, and now facing the true king of the mountains, couldn't hold on for a moment before being slaughtered. I stood tall over the bear's carcass like a victor, gazing at the thunder origin fruit. I could not help but roar to the heavens, that fruit is mine. A wave of formidable pressure surged from my body, like an invisible shockwave, stunning every beast that dared to approach. The number of wild beasts prowling the Dali mountain range is immense. Therefore, even though the thunder bear killed the beasts near the silver tree, while I was busy finishing him off, many other predators caught wind of the commotion and gathered, hoping to snatch a piece of the prize. But as soon as the herd witnessed the final scene of the thunder bear's demise, they were scared out of their wits. In their eyes, the Tiger King had brutally executed the mighty bear. His overwhelming pressure was insurmountable. Their once restless hearts were dealt a crushing blow. All the beasts were terrified to their core, scattering in every direction without ever looking back. I paid no mind to those cowards. I strode toward the silver tree like a true champion, and after giving the silver fruit a quick inspection, I opened my jaws wide and gulped it down in one bite. The thunder origin fruit was mine. The moment it hit my stomach, a violent surge of power instantly swept through my body. The chaotic energy within the fruit collided wildly, like a trapped beast, trying to shatter my body from the inside out. I gritted my teeth and held firm, adapting to the shock of the fruit's energy. Gradually, my entire body became enveloped in layers of lightning. Electric sparks like small snakes slithered across my skin, as if they had a life of their own. I used all my strength to forcefully absorb the fruit's essence. But once I acclimated to the initial agony, I felt a constant tingling sensation all over. My own physique was strengthening and evolving. At the same time, inside a modest meeting room in the imperial capital of Huasha, it was very quiet. The atmosphere in the room was suffocatingly tense. A young reporter in a military uniform clutched his notebook tightly, sitting on the edge of his chair, looked anxious. Opposite him sat several middle-aged men in military uniforms. They sat stiff and stern, staring straight ahead, as if anticipating something. If that were all, the young reporter would not be this nervous. But just moments ago, he had witnessed one of the middle-aged officers fly into a rage and shatter the porcelain cup in front of him. At that moment, an elderly man in a Zhongshan suit walked in, flanked by several researchers in white lab coats. Surrounded by them, walked in. "Sir, we have news." One of the researchers spoke respectfully. The officer opposite gave a slight nod. This officer possessed a sturdy build, and a lifetime of military service gave him an iron-blooded aura, an unquestionable authority that needed no words. It was constantly emanated. Anyone who approached him would instinctively feel a sense of submission. He forced a smile. He gestured for the old man and the researchers to be seated. Once everyone was settled, he looked at the old man in the Zhongshan suit, his expression turning somber once more. Professor Shah, how is the research on the matter I entrusted to you? Tell us about it. Very well, sir. The old man in the Zhongshan suit, named Sha Xingyu, was the top biological research expert in Huaxia. He had led countless major research projects in the country. Even his students were spread across all corners of Huaxia, treating him as a pillar of the research institutes. He nodded toward the chief, opened the document in his hand, and said with a confident voice, "Due to the limited samples at hand, our team has only reached a general understanding of these mutations for now. The core of the anomalies still requires deeper research. However, based on what we have gathered so far, this phenomenon can be traced back to that blood rain." The chief frowned slightly. He knew about the blood rain that had stopped 2 days ago. According to the intel we have gathered since then, it was not just Huaxia. The entire world was affected at the exact same time, hit by a terrifying blood rain. And ever since that blood rain, the whole world has undergone structural anomalies. The first to be affected were wild animals and pets across the globe. Professor Shah pushed up his glasses and said, "Research has revealed that this blood rain brought a mysterious form of energy to the entire world. It is exactly this energy that granted beasts and pets extraordinary power. At first we thought this blood rain had fundamentally altered their biology, but through dissection we discovered that the bodies of all impacted creatures were perfectly normal. In fact, they had even been strengthened. Through further research, we have temporarily named the mysterious energy brought by the rain spiritual energy. Spiritual energy is much like what is described in some novels. Once absorbed by a living organism, it can enhance physical constitution and fortify flesh and muscle. Spiritual energy." The chief and several other middle-aged officers exchanged glances. They all looked puzzled. They were staunch materialists. Naturally, they did not believe in such cryptic ethereal tales of gods and demons. The chief pondered for a moment. Then he asked, "Can you capture this spiritual energy? Or rather, in what form does it exist?" "I apologize, but we are currently unable to capture spiritual energy." Professor Shah shook his head, looking regretful. "During our research, we confirmed that spiritual energy does exist, but currently it is untouchable and invisible. If it were not for the physical changes in several test subjects affected by this energy, we would not have discovered it so quickly. Moreover, robust wild beasts absorb spiritual energy far more efficiently than humans." A flicker of fear passed through his eyes and palms. "I selected a few soldiers who were caught in the blood rain and compared them with normal soldiers. I found their strength had increased by a full 30%. And even more terrifyingly, a sheep bathed in the blood rain not only became savage, but it could easily shatter a soldier's bone." As Professor Shah spoke, he wore an expression of disbelief. "But this is what we witnessed firsthand during our research. Therefore, I believe spiritual energy affects all living things, especially in significantly enhancing wild beasts. If we cannot find a way to control the situation as soon as possible, humanity will be in danger." Suddenly, before the chief could respond, an officer let out a disdainful laugh. Clearly, he did not believe Professor Shah's claims. "Professor Shah, if it is really as you say, could these mutated beasts really be stronger than guns and artillery? It is true, even with the boost from the spiritual energy, they remain wild beasts. They could not possibly stand against humanity's firepower." Multiple officers felt he was making a mountain out of a molehill. Professor Shah knew that words alone would not be convincing enough. So, he signaled a researcher to play the evidence on the spot. In the shaky footage, a small armed squad was engaged in battle with a massive golden python. What was shocking was that the golden python was unfazed by bullets, and after swallowing several humans, it sauntered away. The conference room fell silent instantly. Witnessing this scene, everyone wore a look of horror. A terrifying realization dawned upon everyone's hearts. "Everyone, you grasp the urgency of the situation now, right?" Professor Shah's expression was grave and earnest. "After that blood rain, wild beasts across the globe have been affected, and have gradually become frantic. They are filled with power. For humanity, the wilderness is no longer safe, and as time passes, those beasts that have absorbed spiritual energy will surely invade our cities. When that time comes, who knows how many innocent people will be harmed, or even killed." Once these words were spoken, the entire meeting room became incredibly quiet. You could even hear a pin drop. The middle-aged officers crossed their arms, staring intently at the big screen with grim expressions. Not a word was uttered. They realized that these mutations were completely beyond their imagination, and had even spun out of their control. Conventional weapons could no longer inflict significant damage upon these mutated beasts. Professor Shah, there must still be a possibility to prevent this, right? A middle-aged military officer asked cautiously, and apologized for his earlier rudeness. Shah Xingyu waved his hand, and thought seriously for a moment, before shaking his head and saying, "For now, we have no way to stop the beasts from evolving, because this was an uncontrollable sudden event from the start." I see the chief frown deeply. He lightly tapped the table, while saying, "If this continues, wild beasts invading the cities, and going to war with humanity, is only a matter of time. Everyone has already seen it. Ordinary weapons cannot harm evolved beasts, and weapons with greater destructive power must be used from a greater distance, otherwise they will injure humans as well. If this keeps going, humanity will be in serious danger." Shah Xingyu naturally understood how serious this was. He had not slept for 2 or 3 days, and had been researching this the whole time. After hearing the chief say that, he still shook his head. Wild beasts can absorb spiritual energy and evolve rapidly, and that is already something we cannot stop. Chiefs, right now, we can only find ways to increase human strength, because our research has found that humans can also absorb spiritual energy. But because of our physical limitations, we absorb it much more slowly, far slower than animals. And you have all read the research data. In other words, this blood rain is an opportunity for the beasts, and also an opportunity for humanity. It all depends on who becomes stronger first. At those words, the officers all lit up. The chief asked at once, unable to hold back, "Professor Shah, hearing you say that, you must already have a solution in mind." "Yes, the method is very simple." Shah Xingyu nodded. "Organize teams to head into the wild and hunt evolved beasts. Dispatch trained specialists to go with them and collect their bloodline samples. And then, use that to find a way to rapidly strengthen humanity. One thing worth noting is this. After capturing them, ordinary people must not directly consume their flesh and blood. It must be processed first. Otherwise, unexpected mutations may occur." Long after devouring the Thunder Origin fruit in the Dali mountain range, the lightning radiance around Sha Fan had already vanished. After another moment passed, the energy inside the Thunder Origin fruit had been completely absorbed by him. At that moment, Sha Fan raised a tiger paw and stared at it with excitement. As he activated it, lightning flickered and burst across the tiger paw, and it looked even deadlier than ordinary thunder. This was the brand new power he gained. Thunder control. Crack, with the slightest movement of his thoughts, the lightning attached to his tiger paw shot out with explosive force, and actually pierced straight through a giant tree that took 3 people to encircle. Not bad at all. Sha Fan was very satisfied with it, but now was not the time to keep exploring the power of thunder. So, after getting familiar with it a little longer, he drew that power back in. After a quick test run, Sha Fan turned his gaze toward the corpse of the black giant bear. His eyes were blazing with desire. Since ancient times, bear paws had been famed as a top-tier delicacy, and had always been a prized premium ingredient. And this black giant bear, after bathing in the blood rain, awakened with special abilities. Their flesh and blood are truly extraordinary, no longer just some common beast. What I covet is not just the meat, it is the residual energy waiting within, waiting for me to absorb it all. In my past life, the Thunder Bear was a force of nature, a name that struck fear far and wide. To be this terrifying, aside from mastering that devastating thunder power, it also possessed an insanely overpowered defense. Before the diamond transformation, this bear fought wolves, boars, and other beasts with ease. Then it triggered the diamond shell. Its limbs shimmered with gold. In truth, after activating the shell, its body enters a state of near invincibility. It grows in size accordingly, with a massive boost to defense. You could truly call it indestructible. Hardly anything could penetrate that hide. It was glowing with gold back then too. But its fur was just so thick, it was barely noticeable. But for me, with the Devour ability, as long as I swallow its thunder core, I will gain the diamond transformation, and power up once again. Let me see where that core is hiding. I am a man of action. My massive tiger claws tore into the bear's carcass. The sound of ripping flesh echoed instantly, exposing chunks of raw meat. Generally speaking, a beast's energy core is in the brain. That is where I first checked. But after tearing open the skull, there was not a trace of it. Guess I have to keep digging. Finally, near the heart, I found that energy core. I swallowed it in one gulp. As for the rest of the bear, I devoured that too. My mouth was dripping with blood, looking particularly savage, like a demon walk ENG the earth. The pure satisfaction made me, I could not help it, in the middle of my feast, to roar at the sky. My imposing roar echoed for miles. Other predators, sensing the residual scent of the thunder fruit, upon hearing my roar, they shuddered in terror, and turned to flee. I could care less. I was too busy devouring the bear. Since digesting the thunder fruit, I have already hit the peak of Tier 1 mid-stage. Just a bit more energy for the breakthrough. This Thunder Bear's carcass is perfect for my needs. Once I polish off this whole thing, I will hit Tier 1, advancing my power further. That is exactly what I am thinking. I picked up the pace. The bear's remains vanished rapidly before my eyes. Haha, just as I thought. I devoured and processed its core and flesh, confirming my strength grew. Straight into Tier 1 late stage. This evolution is pure joy. I realize that if I keep devouring like this, I will only get stronger, perhaps even reaching the rank of Beast Emperor. A truly formidable existence. Right now, I have not just leveled up in raw power, but my physical stats have also soared by several folds. By now, his body length has already exceeded 10 meters, and his build has become even more massive. Throughout the entire mountain forest, he is undoubtedly a colossal existence. In the next moment, Sha Fan activated the ability he had just acquired. Steel transformation as a flash of brilliant gold shimmered by. Sha Fan's entire body was encased in a layer of golden light, especially his tiger claws, which had transformed directly into steel blades. Incomparably hard. He just tested them on a massive boulder nearby. The tiger claws were not only rock solid. After colliding with the boulder, not even a scratch was left on the claws. Moreover, they even shattered the boulder to pieces. Not bad at all. Though steel transformation is only an A-grade ability. For me right now, it is a highly useful skill. At the very least, my body is now as tough as steel. Even if I encounter a beast stronger than myself, I have the power to put up a fight. At the very least, enough to protect myself. Sha Fan is quite satisfied with his current state. Ever since that blood rawn occurred, barely 4 or 5 days have passed. Yet he has gone from a common northeast tiger to becoming a first-order late-stage fierce beast. His combat strength has increased who knows how many times over. Right now, though it is said that countless beasts across the globe awaken due to the blood rain, and their unique abilities have become even more powerful. But with his current strength, especially in this initial stage of evolution, he can absolutely run rampant among the beasts. First, there is his SSS grade ability, Devour. It can consume all living things in the world, converting their source power into his own. Such a terrifying ability is extremely vital for a beast. After all, this represents his limitless potential for the future. As long as there are enough living things to devour, this SSS grade ability is also Sha Fan's primary one, which he originally seized from the Black Tiger. As for his innate ability, Frenzy, although it is only a grade, it should not be underestimated. After all, it can instantly amplify his physical stats by 10 times. The reason why such an ability could not make a huge impact at the beginning was simply because the host's strength was too low. The stronger the fundamental strength, the greater the boost Frenzy provides. This is why Sha Fan dared to use Steel Transformation to confront the mutated Thunder Bear. Currently, there is no beast he cannot handle. If there were, he would just shift into Frenzy and deal with them. Of course, an A-grade innate talent is indispensable. Just like the newly acquired Steel Transformation, he had already understood its power beforehand. Sha Fan only viewed it as a defensive ability for himself, not having researched it too much. Besides that, he has another ability, B-grade innate talent Frost Breath. This ability allows for the exhalation of icy power, but due to the low rank, its utility diminishes as time goes on. But Sha Fan does not despise it. No one would ever complain about having too many tools at their disposal. Devour is simply the path best suited for me. Sha Fan wandered through the mountains, preparing to scout around, to see if there were other spirit items like the Thunder Origin Fruit born into existence, or perhaps to hunt for beasts with valuable innate abilities, to continue on his own path of growth. He is confident he can now face all the beasts in existence, and even when facing humans, he believes he has now reached the point where he can treat conventional firearms as nothing. That is, provided that humans do not deploy high-impact weapons like missiles. In my previous life, I was a human, so I naturally had to find ways to survive among the beasts. It was an irreconcilable blood feud, but having been reborn as a Siberian tiger, I can leverage the Devour ability to grow stronger step by step, until I reach the apex. Therefore, this lifetime's humans have little to do with me. So, although I know that in a short while, even missiles won't be able to handle the beasts, there is nothing for me to be agitated about. Humans will be at a complete disadvantage then, and it will last for a very, very long time. With the experience of having been human, I deeply agree with the old saying, those not of my kin, their hearts must be different, and this mindset for me now is just as applicable, since I have become one of the beasts. From the moment I started growing stronger, I cut off any thought of getting close to humans. Interacting with humans is an extremely dangerous game. He knew all too well, if I were to show any goodwill to humans, or even attempt communication, I might end up on a surgeon's table being dissected, just to figure out the cause of my evolution. If things reached that point, it would be extremely perilous. I certainly do not want to die a second time. Just as I was pacing, mulling over various matters, suddenly my tiger eyes narrowed. A massive commotion echoed in my ears. I followed the noise and looked up, only to see in the skies above the Dali mountain range several helicopters suddenly appearing, and they seemed to be searching for something. I immediately stopped in my tracks, crouching down low slightly, while a storm raged in my heart. Humans. Logically speaking, it is impossible for them to get here this fast, right? Or could it be because of my rebirth? The original course of events has shifted. I do not know. Just a few hours ago, at a military base near the capital, Professor Sha Xingyu, accompanied by 2 assistants, and with a dozen soldiers as escort, had hurried here, because the Dali mountain range is, within the entire nation, the largest forest area, containing many highly primitive regions. In these mountains, wild beasts thrive in countless numbers. Following his suggestion, the chief had approved his plan to come capture these beasts, to bring them back for research. Fast, faster, move, turn around, and everyone disembark. The target has been spotted. On the helicopter, Professor Sha Xingyu saw a flash of yellow moving in the woods. He thought it was a pack of beasts. After all, the patch of color was simply too large, unlike something a single beast could possess. Under his command, the accompanying soldiers scrambled into action, deep in the mountain forest. I was still deep in thought, wondering why the authorities were so quick to organize a team to come to the Dali mountain range. Suddenly, I saw those helicopters hover in mid-air, then unexpectedly open their hatches, as soldiers in full battle gear descended one after another, using ropes. Are they coming for me? I narrowed my eyes slightly. The news of me escaping the Zhonghai Zoo must have spread by now, but it should not be worth such a huge commotion. 3 soldiers in full gear were in the woods, as a small squad, advancing in a forward arrow formation. Behind them, followed by 2 researchers, guarded by over 10 soldiers. Just a moment ago, they spotted a flash of movement in the woods, but upon entering, they found nothing. The officer leading the team remained uneasy. He looked back at the 2 researchers, and after a brief moment, they continued on. Professor Shu, Assistant Huang, you 2 should head back. It is not safe here. We will be careful. Professor Shu waved his hand, bluntly refusing. Besides, there are so many of you protecting us. There won't be any danger. But this is the Dali mountain range. Many wild beasts live here. No one knows how many of them have already been affected by this spiritual energy, becoming even more dangerous. The officer was persistent. Plus Professor Shu. All you need are the bloodlines of these beasts. Whether the beasts are alive or dead does not matter. The wilderness is no place for your research. I will do my best to capture them alive and deliver them to you for study. But Professor Shu, you really must leave. This is not just for your safety, but to allow the team to perform at full tactical capacity. Upon hearing this, Professor Shu thought deeply for a moment, finally agreeing. Fine, I will listen to you. We will leave for now. We will wait for you at the nearest base in Zhonghai City. I hope you can catch the beasts soon. Rest assured, Professor Shu. We guarantee that we will complete the mission. The officer exhaled a sigh of relief. He ordered 8 of his men to escort Professor Shu and the assistant back to base. Only after they had disappeared from sight did he call the remaining soldiers together. He said solemnly, this is a final stand. Do not be careless. Everyone must be vigilant. Watch out for any danger lurking nearby. If anything happens, report it immediately. Everyone else provide immediate support. The squad of soldiers spread out, cautiously searching the nearby forest. They were fortunate the team leader sent the professor away. After all, the chief had given a strict order. Even if they had no success, they had to ensure the safety of the professor and the others. Therefore, once the professor was gone, everyone could focus entirely on completing the mission. Be careful, everyone. These beasts have mutated. Do not let your guard down. The officer led from the front, never forgetting his comrades. These were the soldiers he had trained himself. If even one of them were lost, it would break his heart. Team leader, over here, there is something. Suddenly, a comrade's voice crackled through the radio. The officer quickly signaled. Move to the left. In an instant, they spotted a beast nearly 2 meters tall, 4 meters long, with huge tusks charging out. It appeared suddenly, snorting and stampeding toward them. It is trying to break our line. Fire, screamed the officer. He was the first to pull the trigger. Rat-tat-tat-tat. Suddenly, the forest filled with the thunder of gunfire. Brass casings showered down, littering the ground. But to their horror, the giant boar let out a deafening roar, its massive body growing even larger. And on its skin, a thick earthen yellow armored layer emerged. It raced through the hail of bullets, locked onto one of the squads, and charged straight at them. Piercing screams erupted instantly. The commanding officer's eyes widened in shock, his heart tearing apart. He watched helpless as 3 of his own soldiers, who were still firing back, were sent flying by the boar, spraying blood before even hitting the ground. One of the soldiers was impaled by its massive razor-sharp tusks. As the boar galloped away, he stood no chance of survival. "Kill that beast," the officer roared, his eyes bloodshot with rage. He charged to the front, swearing to turn that animal into a sieve. The rest of the soldiers fought harder, too, venting all their hatred and fury over their fallen comrades. The giant boar truly ignored the bullets. After dispatching 3 soldiers, it adjusted its charge trajectory and struck again. Nearby, Xu Heng watched the battlefield unfold, witnessing everything. He could not help but sigh. These guys are really out of luck. If it were any other monster, they might have actually succeeded. But they ran into a boar. As fellow beasts, I only needed one glance at that earthen armor to realize this boar had awakened defensive abilities linked to the earth element. Even though this boar is only at the first stage, thanks to its superior defense, it can completely ignore small arms fire. In front of the boar, these highly trained soldiers are no more than ants playing with toys. It looks like they won't be completing their mission today. Xu Heng shook his head slightly, not counting on their success. And even if they do kill this boar, the casualties would be devastating. Whether they get out of the Dali mountain range alive remains a mystery, but that is none of my business. I won't show myself to help these strangers. And they are human, a different species from me. Until I possess absolute strength, I won't even appear in their line of sight. Captain, we can't stop it. A soldier lost an arm in the woods, and is trembling in terror beside the officer. This boar's hide is too thick. Our bullets can't penetrate it. We have already burned through half our ammo, but we have not done a lick of damage. We need to find a way to fall back. I will find a way. Aim for its eyes. The officer stared, eyes bloodshot, refusing to listen to his subordinates. He knows the situation clearly, but the bottom line is, this boar has already killed 5 of his men. Plus, they have a mission to uphold. He won't just retreat like this. Staying now is to finish the task, and to get even. The other soldiers stopped talking upon hearing this. They all gritted their teeth, focusing on conserving ammo, trying to hurt the beast. But that boar is tough as nails. Not only is he massive, but he is also incredibly agile. It is nearly impossible to target his weak spots. Suddenly, a soldier, unable to endure the terror of this beast, gave a loud shout, and threw himself at the wild boar. And when the beast opened its maw, he gripped the trigger tightly, determined to take it down with him. At this moment, Sha Fan, unnoticed, turned away quietly, planning to leave this place. He knew clearly that there was no reason to linger here any longer, since the military has already turned its eyes to the Dali mountain range, and the most valuable thunder origin fruit here is already gone. There is no need to stay. You never know when I might run into a military unit fully loaded with ammo and weapons. I remember the Heavenly Origin Spirit Tree will appear in about a month. I have every chance of obtaining it now. Sha Fan moved with swift wind-like strides. His massive frame bolted through the forest, his movements surprisingly nimble. He always picked the optimal path, avoiding any disturbances. After the blood rain, it was not just animals that evolved into vicious beasts. Even plants tapped into the cosmic flow, becoming all sorts of natural treasures. The Thunder Origin fruit he devoured earlier was one such precious find, and the Heavenly Origin fruit, among these natural treasures, is exceptionally renowned. Even in my past life, it was a highly coveted existence. To gain strength, Sha Fan would never pass up the chance to hunt down these beasts, or ignore these naturally evolved spirit items. The Heavenly Origin Spirit Tree bears the legendary Heavenly Origin fruit. This fruit carries a heaven-defying effect that helps beasts accelerate their evolution and rapidly increase their combat power. Whether before the blood rain or now, most humans would stick together, facing various hardships and disasters together. This is a basic necessity for humans as social beings to survive. But carnivorous beasts always hunt the herbivores, especially after they mutated into vicious predators, turning the struggle for survival into a manic frenzy. Strength. is the only guarantee of survival in this world. The heavenly origin tree is practically nature's gift to these beasts. It fruits every year, and by relying on it, one could forge a massive army of powerful beasts. Furthermore, consuming this spiritual fruit carries almost no side effects. It is essentially a perfect catalyst for Sha Fan. I remember the ferocious purple gold Lion King from my past life was the master of the heavenly origin tree, using it to unify the great wilderness mountain range and becoming its overlord. Once a beast attains a certain level of power, it develops its own intelligence like a human. Though this intelligence is still far beneath that of a human, it is a massive upgrade and reinforcement for any beast. That purple gold Lion King relied on the heavenly origin tree to build an army of powerful beasts, becoming a living nightmare for countless humans. Reborn in this life, Sha Fan naturally aspires to be an overlord himself, and he has been working toward that goal ever since. He possesses memories from his previous life, knowing exactly where every opportunity lies. Therefore, he can always stay one step ahead of humans and other beasts, while they are still oblivious, rapidly enhancing his own strength. With the help of this heavenly origin tree, his grand ambition of conquest will soon be easily realized. Thinking of this, he moved even faster, weaving through the forest. He chose to leave the Dali mountain range directly, and his next target is the Great Wilderness Mountain Range. In this life, no one can stop me from getting stronger. His eyes were filled with determination. A powerful will guided his every step forward. After swallowing the Thunder Origin fruit and the Thunder Bear's carcass, and becoming a late-stage first-tier beast, everywhere he passed, even those newly awakened beasts dared not hold even the slightest wicked thought. Some beasts even found themselves on his path, but they could not even manage to run away. They instinctively prostrated themselves on the ground, showing their absolute submission. Only their quivering bodies betrayed the terror in their hearts. He did not even spare them a glance. To him now, this level of prey was beneath his notice. "You animal, I will kill you," the officer roared, unloading the remaining bullets, all into the body of the wild boar. They had fought a grueling battle until now, and their original 30 comrades were almost all gone. Their remains were scattered everywhere nearby, some even beyond recognition. Facing such horrific losses, the officer was on the brink of madness, but his remaining reason told him clearly. He had to kill the wild boar before them. Fighting was the only hope for survival. Thankfully, a comrade had just sacrificed himself in the beast's mouth, opening a weak spot, causing terrifying damage to the boar. Only then could they gradually whittle down the beast's strength, and finally manage to put it down. "The captain is dead. They are all dead." A soldier, covered in blood, approached the officer, his eyes full of sorrow. "Little Chin, third brother, they are all dead, every one of them. All died at the hands of this animal." The officer was inconsolable. The high spirits he once had were gone. He stared blankly at the 5 remaining men, and asked with a hoarse, bitter voice, "Is that animal dead?" Before them, the giant wild boar had collapsed onto the forest floor, lifeless. Its entire body was riddled with bullet holes, especially around its mouth, where the flesh was shredded to pieces, blood silently seeping onto the ground. "Captain, it is dead." A soldier gripped his rifle hard. Intense hatred nearly stripped him of his sanity, longing to shred this culprit into mush. But due to his mission and orders, they still had to take the beast's carcass, transport it to Donghua City, and hand it over to Professor Sha Xingyu. "It is good that it is dead." The officer sighed deeply, forcing himself to calm down. "Everyone, hang in there a little longer. First, get our brothers back to the helicopter. Bring them home." The 5 remaining soldiers nodded silently, approaching the fallen comrades. Using the ropes lowered from the helicopter, they secured them and hoisted them up. Over half an hour later, everyone's remains had been transported to the helicopters. The remaining 2 helicopters continued to lower their ropes. The soldiers secured the wild boar, the prize they were about to send to Donghua City. The officer's fury still burned within him. He was putting a rope on the wild boar with one hand, while struggling to hold it down with the other. "So many of my brothers have died because of you. You deserve to die 1,000 deaths. HMPH, just you wait. Professor Shaw will tear you limb from limb, then decode the abilities hidden in your bloodline, and return to wipe out your kind. I swear, one day I will slaughter every one of you, to avenge them all." The rest of the soldiers just listened in silence, their expressions full of grief. They no longer had the strength to vent their anger, only wanting to return to Donghua City, to complete the mission. "Let us move, everyone, faster." Right at that moment, a helicopter pilot suddenly shouted in panic, "Wait, something's not right up ahead. If we do not leave now, it will be too late. The officer looked up at the sound, his pupils instantly constricting. He clearly saw a massive black shadow plummeting from the horizon before the helicopters in the air could react. Several sharp blades followed in its wake, striking them directly. With a thunderous boom, the 3 helicopters exploded instantly. Debris rained down in every direction. The officer roared in rage, but a cold terror soon washed over them. It was a massive avian beast. After destroying the copters, it did not leave. It swooped down, a terrifying giant predator, snatching up the officer and the 5 remaining soldiers. Before even reaching the sky, it crushed them into pulp. The entire squad sent to capture the beast was wiped out. In the silent wilderness, a massive black and yellow figure leapt across the small stream, hardly making a sound. The figure kept moving without pause, with a clear objective, dashing forward at high speed. It quickly vanished into the mountain forest. The fleeting figure was none other than Sha Fan. After leaving the Dali mountain range, he had been traveling frantically, choosing only remote, desolate paths. That is why he did not attract any human attention. Sha Fan calculated the time he would need. At his current pace, within a single day and night, he had completely left the Zhonghai city region. 3 days later, in a remote mountain wilderness, Sha Fan appeared once more. This time, he decided to stop. His sharp eyes stared fixedly ahead, musing to himself, "One more day, and I will reach Great Wilderness Mountain." Having run for 3 days straight, Sha Fan felt a tinge of fatigue, so he decided to rest for a while. Standing in place, he pricked his ears to listen to the sounds around him. The next second, Sha Fan pounced. A mountain goat, mutated and grown to a massive size by the blood rain, lay dead beneath his jaws. He was not hunting for beasts with special abilities, just catching this goat to satisfy his hunger. All the while, he never forgot to keep a vigilant eye on his surroundings. Even with his current strength, most beasts posed no threat. But Sha Fan did not relax his guard for a second. From the start of the blood rain until now, nearly a week has passed. Though the time was short, much had already changed. Besides, he only remembered fragments of the major events. But I am not entirely clear on the specific details. This whole week, beasts with superior bloodlines, or those who have consumed some kind of precious spirit treasure, have grown much stronger. When facing them, you absolutely cannot let your guard down, especially those beasts with bizarre and unpredictable awakened abilities. One careless move and you could be crippled by their powers. I am not about to let these details become my downfall. I tore into that mountain goat's flesh with gusto, and in no time even the bones were gone. Only some scattered tufts of fur were left, as proof it ever existed. Having had my fill, I laid down comfortably, ready to rest. As a beast now, my digestive system is incredibly potent. It won't take long to fully absorb the nutrients, but the feeling of being full won't last long either. Time to get back in top condition. Wait. After just a few minutes, a burst of rapid gunfire echoed from nearby. I was on my feet in an instant. My sharp eyes scanned the surroundings vigilantly, searching for the source of the noise. Judging by the sound, the firefight was still at some distance. I hesitated for a moment, but decided to slowly creep closer and investigate. No matter what is happening, it is always best to get the lay of the land first. Otherwise, it is easy to get caught off guard. Before long, I emerged from the wilderness. Standing on a gentle slope, I gazed into the distance. A town came into view. At the entrance, a striking sign read, "Crocodile Town," complete with a lifelike crocodile statue. I surveyed the scene. The town had descended into complete chaos. Countless giant crocodiles were rampaging through it. Among them, the largest one, already measured 10 meters in length. Caught amidst the swarm, there was a squad of armed soldiers, firing wildly, desperately resisting the onslaught. But this group was nowhere near as strong as the team I encountered. When I first arrived in the Dali mountain range, they looked like they were at the end of their rope. That bastard is the bloodthirsty butcher. I kept my eyes locked on that 10-meter monster, watching for a while. A few memories suddenly surfaced. The reason this town was named Crocodile Town was simply because it was a hub dedicated entirely to crocodile farming. Every day, massive quantities of crocodiles were slaughtered and shipped across the country. They were either sold as food for the dining table or turned into leather goods like shoes and bags. Business was booming. Because the town saw such profit, they kept expanding their farming operations. But little did they know, a rain of blood would bring total catastrophe to this town. Because of that sudden blood rain, the swarms of crocodiles on the farms began evolving, and the strongest of them all was none other than that monster, the bloodthirsty butcher. I remember, it had a superior bloodline, and directly after the reign, it awakened two innate abilities, bloodthirsty art and berserk rage. Bloodthirsty art is somewhat similar to my devour ability, only it relies on consuming blood to fuel its own growth, distilling the very essence of its prey. As for the berserker skill, it forms a barrier of rage-filled aura around the body. The defensive power of this barrier is absolutely terrifying. Moreover, while this ability is active, the more enraged, the stronger the defense. Although both of these are only a grade talent abilities, Sha Fan remembers that in his past life, the bloodthirsty butcher relied on these two skills to unleash power rivaling a typical king-class predator. This is a truly formidable and tricky one. Sha Fan knew clearly, before the shower of blood and the mutation, the crocodiles already possessed skin as tough as armor, with only their underbellies being soft, but they would not easily expose their weak spot. The bloodthirsty butcher, gifted among beasts, augmented by the berserker skill, is effectively impenetrable. He remembers vividly that in one of its fits of rage, the bloodthirsty butcher slaughtered over a dozen people in the town, leaving the small town perpetually draped in a terrifying, blood-chilling aura. Utterly horrific. Because of that feat, the bloodthirsty butcher established a notorious, fearful reputation in the human world. Its name came from that very fact. Facing such a vicious beast, Sha Fan did not recklessly rush forward to fight it. Besides, he is a beast now, a completely different species from humans. Not kicking them while they are down is already good enough. There is no obligation to save anyone. He stood silently on a gentle slope, gazing at the battlefield between humanity and the beast, inspoken and unmoved. Inside the crocodile town, the slaughter by the bloodthirsty butcher and his crocodile kin continued. That human armed squad had nearly run out of ammo, and even the gunfire had become scattered. The number of humans killed by the crocodiles kept growing. Around the bloodthirsty butcher, human corpses were piled high, all drained of color, without a hint of blood left. This was a war with no suspense. Sha Fan already saw the fate of these humans, but his mind was focused on something else. My devour ability is basically like swallowing dates whole, and its greatest utility is devouring the abilities of other beasts, though it still has its flaws. If I could devour the bloodthirsty butcher's ability and combine the two. At the thought of this, Sha Fan hesitated for a moment, and finally slowly crept toward the crocodile town. Crocodile town. The bustling scenes of the past were nowhere to be seen. On both sides of the streets, countless shops had their doors wide open, or windows shattered. Inside the shops, everything was in total chaos. Splatters of blood were scattered everywhere. The people living here were fleeing in total panic. The sudden mutation of the crocodiles in every farm today had caught everyone off guard. Humans had not the time to pack their valuables, fleeing everywhere with their families in tow. In the town square, survivors who managed to escape the beast's jaws crowded together, eyes filled with terror. Standing by them were the armed squads who arrived after hearing the news to evacuate the crowd. From the initial squad of 30-plus armed men, not even 3 hours later, their ranks had been cut in half. In the square, the stench of blood was overwhelming. Everything nearby is stained a searing, blinding crimson. This swarm keeps churning with countless crocodiles, big and small. On the streets, the dismembered remains of humans and crocodiles are scattered everywhere. Many have been trampled, to the point where you can no longer distinguish what is human flesh and what is reptile. Suddenly, a scream pierces the air. Someone retreats in absolute panic, but the crowd behind is already packed tight. There is nowhere left to run. Seeing this, a nearby armed officer disregards everything else, hastily raises his assault rifle, and unleashes a hail of bullets toward the source of the scream. Although this move successfully kills the crocodile attacking the survivor, before its death, it still caused significant chaos and casualties. Even in its final moments, it used its sharp fangs to clamp down firmly onto a woman's lower leg, frozen in the act of tearing and thrashing. "Mommy, I am scared." A 6 or 7-year-old child sobs uncontrollably, desperately burying themselves in their mother's arms. But there is nowhere to hide. Helpless cries echo incessantly from the crowd. Despair and terror ripple through the masses. Under this extreme pressure, some have completely snapped. After a roar of defiance, someone unarmed charges into the crocodile pack, their eyes already devoid of life. "I will take you all down with me." After that desperate shout, comes an absolute silence. The survivors who fell into the pack did not even have time to struggle, before being swallowed by countless bloody jaws. The crocodile's sharp teeth, like daggers, pierce deep into their bodies, tearing and ripping them apart. In a flash, fresh blood rains down over the ground. The remaining survivors dare not rush out again, forced to huddle together in total despair. Only the dozen or so armed officers are left to protect them. Rat-tat-tat-tat-tat. Gunfire rings out incessantly. After a brief pause, it continues again, a testament to human tenacity. The dozen officers hold their rifles, unleashing a frantic barrage on the bloodthirsty butcher. They all understand, only by taking down this alpha monster can we escape this catastrophe. Though the bloodthirsty butcher is thick-skinned and tough, ordinary bullets cannot penetrate its sturdy hide. Yet a few stray bullets manage to strike its underbelly at an angle, spattering droplets of blood. The bloodthirsty butcher feels the pain and flares its jaws in a roar of rage. Overwhelmed with fury, it triggers its rage skill instantly. In an instant, a thick layer of blood-colored armor condenses around its body. From then on, not a single bullet can penetrate it, all blocked by that crimson plating. Captain, this thing is a freak. Our fire barely leaves a scratch. How about we retreat? An officer clicks on an empty magazine, shouting without looking back. If this continues, we are just going to be worn down to nothing. We must find a way to take this beast down. Find a way? What way could we possibly have? Before the captain can respond, another team member shouts back in a nervous breakdown. We have been firing for so long now, and the beast is still jumping around. Our bullets do not pose the slightest threat to it. If only we had another way. How did things end up like this? Then, what do you suggest we do? The captain saw his men fighting for their lives, on the verge of breaking under the immense pressure. He suddenly roared, "That is enough. Damn it all. Keep it quiet, all of you. Is this really the time for arguing?" He kept a cool head. As his gaze drifted to the survivors, a flash of tenderness appeared, but it vanished as quickly as it came. Conserve your ammo. This beast is thick-skinned and tough. Bullet fire barely scratches it. At least it does not seem keen on getting into close quarters. Wait until it opens its jaw, and unload every bit of your ammo down its throat. The gunfire erupted once more. Before moving on, the captain took one last look at his helpless kin. As he turned away, a crystalline tear welled up in the corner of his eye. He swiftly tossed a grenade. As the explosion thundered, he barked out orders, deploy smoke grenades. Flashbangs too. We are moving out, now. Nearby, Shu Fan observed from the shadows of a building. He did not make a move yet. He knew all too well. The bloodthirsty butcher was in a state of absolute berserk rage. The power of its carnage mode is massive. There is no way I should fight it at a time like this, or I would be the one losing out. He was biding his time, looking for a surefire opportunity. Seeing their plight, the soldiers could not bear to leave as they retreated. So as they fell back, under the cover of the smoke, they grabbed a few civilians along the way, pulling them to safety. As for the others, there was unfortunately nothing they could do. Luckily, seeing the others move, the rest scrambled like drowning people clutching at straws, panicking as they followed the armed troops. The captain saw this, head hanging in a moment of shame. But soon he turned back, to help those stranded and defenseless souls. With the smoke screen hiding them, the soldiers managed to pull the remaining survivors out. When the smoke cleared, only the wild crocodiles remained in the square, with not a single human in sight. The bloodthirsty butcher witnessed this, and let out a sky-shaking roar, but found no target for its fury. Without active external attacks, its berserk state began to fade, eventually dissipating. Looking closely, the bloodthirsty butcher was covered in wounds, and with every breath it took, fresh blood seeped from its body. Although the berserk mode granted it immense defense against these predators, it still could not fully withstand modern military hardware, especially in their eyes, these cunning humans, targeting only its weak points. The wounds had accumulated over time, until now, leaving it in a critically injured state. Even so, the bloodthirsty butcher was not panicked. It was inherently a superior breed, ruling over the local crocodiles with an iron fist, not fearing any uprising. Plus, these predators have incredible regenerative abilities. Just a few days of rest, and these wounds will heal on their own. After hesitating for a moment, the bloodthirsty butcher decided to retreat deeper into the small town. Rest, recharge, right now. At this very moment, a cold glint flashed in Shu Fan's eyes. He charged forward without a hint of hesitation. If you are to strike a foe, do it when they are at their weakest. Why wait? With a thunderous roar, Shu Fan surged into the crocodile town plaza. He crouched low, circling the battered bloodthirsty butcher. A murderous aura began to permeate the air. The bloodthirsty butcher collapsed to the ground, motionless. He had sustained heavy injuries, especially around his belly. Bullet holes were peppered all over his body, blood flowing endlessly. He only kept his belly hidden now, desperate not to expose that lethal weak spot. Too bad. I had been monitoring the entire battle from the shadows. I knew the extent of his injuries, and his current pathetic display could not help but make me smirk. He possessed abilities like Rampage, Diamond Form, and Frost Breath. as a stage 1 late phase beast. Finishing off a wounded bloodthirsty butcher should have been a walk in the park, but for the sake of caution, and wanting to remain unscathed, I remained extremely prudent. I did not launch an attack immediately. The two beasts stood in a silent standoff, but anyone with eyes could see, even if the bloodthirsty butcher had not been injured, relying solely on his bloodlust art, which had only evolved to stage 1 mid-phase. He was nowhere near my level, not even close, let alone the fact that he was already crippled right now. Time ticked away, and the surroundings fell deathly silent. The bloodthirsty butcher knew he could not wait any longer, so he unleashed his rage art once more, coating himself in a thick blood-red armor. Since he could not win, he opted for passive defense. Perhaps he could hold out for a while longer, and use the opportunity to escape. Too bad he was up against me, a version of me that holds human wisdom and soul. Before his rage art could fully take effect, I instantly activated my own rampage, boosting my strength tenfold, compounded with my diamond form, making my body utterly indestructible. I launched myself at him. The next second, the two beasts collided with horrific force. The shockwave sent ripples of pure power through the air. The bloodthirsty butcher was sent skidding back half a meter. He had lost the initial power struggle. He was no match for me. Right then, I kept my head low, pacing around him, constantly hunting for an opening. The bloodthirsty butcher's hide was tough to begin with, but empowered by my claws, they became like legendary divine blades. With one swift strike, I tore a chunk of his hide right off. Fresh blood splattered everywhere. Panic washed over him. He realized his blood-red armor was utterly useless against me. Realizing his rage art could not adequately protect him, the bloodthirsty butcher shifted his strategy. While I was distracted, he lunged forward, his gaping jaw aimed straight at my front leg. In mid-air, he attempted a rolling bite maneuver, but I reacted instantly, evading his attack entirely, and swiped him away with force, sending him into a daze. A sudden wave of intense dizziness instantly hindered the bloodthirsty butcher's movements. By the time he landed, he could not even manage in time to conceal the grievous wounds on his abdomen. Sha Fan seized the opportunity and lunged forward, as a chilling gleam flashed across the tiger claws. Flesh and blood sprayed out again. The bloodthirsty butcher's midsection was instantly ripped open with multiple gashes, and with his movements, deeper viscera were vaguely visible. He let out another feral roar, as if trying to bolster his own courage, but the sound was filled with sheer terror. His momentum was completely shattered. Sha Fan, having struck once, did not press the attack, knowing how incredibly cunning this bloodthirsty butcher was. Even though he had just wounded the enemy's abdomen, it was entirely possible it was an intentional feint, baiting me into a trap. So, like an inquisitive soul, I circled around the bloodthirsty butcher, admiring this living toy. The bloodthirsty butcher kept his head held high, muscles completely tensed, ready to counterattack at any moment. Yet, precisely because of that, the blood seeping from his body became increasingly profuse, leaving clear crimson trails everywhere he moved. He truly lives up to the name, Bloodthirsty Butcher. Seeing this, Sha Fan could not help but feel a swell of emotion. In my previous life, I knew the Bloodthirsty Butcher had carved out a fearsome reputation, naturally making him an extremely troublesome opponent. Unexpectedly at this stage, even though he has not fully matured yet, he is already cautious enough. I knew that if he had not been injured, the situation would not have turned out this way. The more this is the case, the more I must nip the Bloodthirsty Butcher in the bud. Otherwise, he will be a headache for me later. Sensing that the tides were increasingly turning against him, the bloodthirsty butcher began roaring in rage, even starting to ravenously devour the nearby scattered human and crocodile carcasses, attempting to restore his strength, but it could not mitigate the impact of his severe injuries. Suddenly, he sensed a shadow looming over his head. Just as he looked up in shock, he discovered it was Sha Fan leaping through the air. Boom! In that split second, Sha Fan's attack erupted like a thunderclap. Before the sound even faded, he tore directly into the bloodthirsty butcher with his tiger claws, ripping away massive chunks of flesh. The scene grew increasingly gruesome. During the ensuing battle, Sha Fan relied on absolute power to inflict critical, fatal injuries upon the bloodthirsty butcher. Having barely withstood a few more blows, he slowly fell silent. His gargantuan body crumpled into a pile of carrion, lying across the plaza of the small town, motionless. Finally, he is dead. Sha Fan fixed his tiger gaze upon the carcass, but did not advance immediately. He continued to radiate his own aura, embodying the air of an absolute sovereign, making the rest of the fodder dare not make a move. Although there were other crocodiles around, none of them had evolved into true beasts. They were merely affected by the bloodshed, resulting in larger bodies, and perhaps a bit more ferocity. but paralyzed by their fear of Sha Fan, they did not dare to approach at all. Sha Fan's sharp claws, like divine blades, easily sliced open the bloodthirsty butcher's skull, eventually uncovering its ability crystal. After dragging that remains out, I swallowed it in one bite without hesitation, feeling the energy within it. I let out a series of satisfied roars. At the same time, I used my devour ability to digest the core. A moment later, I successfully gained Bloodthirst and Berserk as my new abilities. My aura soared once again. Couldn't let the bloodthirsty butcher's flesh go to waste, could I? Sha Fan looked at the carcass before him, and immediately started devouring its flesh. Only the sounds of my chewing echoed in the area. Once the bloodthirsty butcher had completely vanished from this world, Sha Fan left to depart Crocodile Town. I continued my journey toward the great wilderness mountain range. My speed was significantly faster than before. Half a day later, a tactical squad returned, everyone armed with rocket launchers, fully confident that beast had nowhere left to run. That was what every one of them truly believed. But when they reached the town square and saw the remains of the bloodthirsty butcher, they were instantly struck with shock. What on earth had happened here? After leaving Crocodile Town, Sha Fan traveled for half a day, reaching new wild mountains. After swallowing the bloodthirsty butcher earlier, the energy replenishment I gained, due to the long dash, was already starting to burn out. It was time to continue hunting for more. So, Sha Fan deliberately slowed down his pace, scouting the surroundings. In no time, I found a common wild beast. After a hearty meal, I felt my strength restored once more, and got ready to move on. I had to reach the Heavenly Origin Spirit Tree in the Great Wilderness Mountain Range as quickly as possible. This massive stroke of luck, I absolutely had to obtain. Only then could I ensure I stayed a step ahead of all other predators. To reach the peak, those infamous beasts from my past life knew that seizing these opportunities early on was the key to forging their path to kinghood. You see, it was only by devouring beasts like the black tiger and the silver python that Sha Fan could quickly grow to the late stage of Tier 1. But the bloodthirsty butcher, after slaughtering half of Crocodile Town, had already reached mid-Tier 1. This triggered a sense of urgency within me. Even though I was fast enough and never slacked off, it seemed that other beasts with superior bloodlines were not that much slower. Furthermore, since the blood rain, countless natural treasures had emerged, likely creating a multitude of powerful beasts. I must pick up the pace. Thinking this, I instantly sped up, eager to cross this expanse of wilderness. Snap! A strange noise suddenly echoed, though I was at a distance. My senses were now razor-sharp. Within a few hundred meters, no movement could escape me. Things that were once barely perceptible now became crystal clear. After confirming the disturbance nearby, I lightened my steps, creeping quietly closer. Very soon, my keen sense of smell picked up on the presence of a beast, and it did not seem like just one kind. In my line of sight, a massive cyan beast was rampaging through the forest. But taking a closer look, it is actually a giant green wolf. Just as the giant green wolf was sprinting, I saw multiple afterimages. This giant wolf, though slightly weaker than the silver-patterned wolf I encountered before, is incredibly fast. So, without a sharp, focused gaze, I might never catch its true form. The ball of purple light being chased by the giant green wolf is even more intriguing, because I, Sha Fan, was shocked to discover that the purple ball of light is even faster, dashing wildly through the mountains, trying its best to shake off the giant green wolf's pursuit. Yet, the maneuvers of this light beam are almost always predicted by the giant green wolf, which is why it has not escaped yet. Could it be a precious treasure of nature? Seeing this, my heart jolted with surprise. Driven by curiosity, I continued to draw closer to the giant wolf. My previous assumption was correct. This giant green wolf is just a first-tier beast, not very powerful, but its limbs seem to tread upon the wind, faster than most first-tier beasts. It should be giving its all to hunt. The purple beam of light flying low in the distance has not even been noticed by the giant green wolf. In the shadows, there is actually a behemoth, staring at the gale technique. Moments after following their rapid movements, I then realized that the talent this giant green wolf awakened is speed-related, and I know the gale technique is a C-grade ability, primarily boosting speed. In terms of direct combat, it has no real power. It is an auxiliary type talent ability. The speed of that purple ball of light, though not exceptionally fast in my eyes, wins by being agile. It is precisely because of this that it has repeatedly dodged the giant green wolf's lunges. If it were just a simple chase, that would be one thing, but that purple light seems to be toying with it. Every time the giant green wolf falls behind, or the distance is too great, it intentionally slows down, waiting for the other to catch up. Only now do I understand. It is not that the purple light cannot escape, but that it is teasing it on purpose, just like a cat playing with a mouse, extremely bold and playful. I realized this, and was stunned. but I am becoming more and more eager to figure out the true form of that purple ball of light. If it truly is a natural treasure, it must be incredibly rare, because a treasure that has developed higher intelligence is invaluable, and its benefits are enormous. As I crept closer, little by little, I finally saw clearly what that purple beam of light truly was. I was instantly shocked. My eyes filled with disbelief. It is actually a purple wild cat. I am beyond amazed. Already a beast. The giant green wolf, boosted by the Gale technique, is even faster. By all logic, it should have been able to handle the purple wildcat. But I did not expect this wildcat to be so incredibly agile, repeatedly escaping, playing the giant green wolf like a fool. Clearly, the purple wildcat is also a beast that successfully evolved after being bathed in the blood rain. Right now, the purple light radiating from the wildcat's body flashed violently, and its speed increased once more. This scene immediately stirred some memories deep within my mind. I felt a subtle shiver, and then it hit me, a look of sudden realization. No wonder. It was playing with the giant blue wolf, circling it. It is exactly the magic cat. I understand now, but I still find it hard to believe. This purple cat, could it really be that legendary magic cat from my past life? I can't blame myself for being shocked. In fact, I am finding it quite surreal. In my previous life, the magic cat was a beast king, and its origins were shrouded in mystery. Even its awakened ability remained unknown. But I am certain of one thing. Since it could reach the level of a beast king, its awakened power must be at least S tier. Of all the fierce beasts in this world, how many could awaken an S tier ability? Calling it 1 in a million would be an understatement. Recalling other information about the magic cat. Even though this little one is a beast king, word is it has 0 offensive power. The abilities it awakens are strictly for support. In that case, if it faces another beast king, it would not stand a chance. But it can compensate for that in other ways. I know. The magic cat can bond with other fierce beasts, merging into one as a support-type beast king. Once it bonds with another beast, it can significantly amplify their strength, providing buffs like healing, shielding, and speed boosts. Never underestimate this kind of support. At a critical moment, an alliance with the magic cat can turn the tide of battle. Fighting above your rank, taking on a crowd single-handedly, nothing will be impossible. My memories, as the magic cat continues to chase the giant blue wolf, are becoming clearer. I remember that in my past life, the magic cat was tamed by an ice crystal phoenix. The ice crystal phoenix is royalty among the beasts, with superior bloodlines. In a one-on-one fight, it crushed most of its peers. But after merging with the magic cat, the phoenix's power surged to a whole new level. It could actually fight 2 other beast kings at once. I never thought I would actually encounter this legendary beast from my past. My eyes are locked onto that flash of purple light, the figure of the magic cat constantly teasing the giant wolf. In my past life, I only heard rumors, stories about it. Now, seeing it with my own eyes, I realize the magic cat is quite the rascal. Slowly, a thought flashes through my mind. If I could tame the magic cat for myself, would not I gain a powerful assistant? Once this thought emerged, there was no turning back. I know very well. For me, a living magic cat is far more useful than a dead one. Although, I can grow stronger by consuming the spirit cores of fierce beasts. What use would a magic cat's core be? Would it help me assist other beasts? Hardly. The magic cat assisting me is the best option. At that thought, my gaze slowly landed on the giant blue wolf. Within my tiger eyes, vague traces of killing intent appeared. Once the decision was made, he did not hesitate anymore. The green giant wolf in the woods finally realized that he had been played by that purple creature earlier. He immediately let out a furious roar. That series of roars only made the magic cat even more smug. Surprisingly, it started circling around the green giant wolf every now and then. But whenever the green giant wolf's sharp claws were about to strike, it would nimbly dodge away, only to reappear right in front of its opponent again. Not far away, the green giant wolf finally reached its breaking point. His aura suddenly surged, and he pushed his Gale technique to the absolute limit. Consequently, his speed exploded. This sudden change caught the magic cat off guard. It scrambled to evade, but at this moment, the green giant wolf's speed was truly too extreme. Those cold gleaming claws were about to land on it, ready to rip it in two. In that instant, even the magic cat felt a tinge of regret. It hurriedly activated its ability, manifesting a defensive energy shield around itself. Just then, A crisp sound of something slicing through the air whistled past, followed immediately by a biting chill. A blast of icy energy shot straight toward the green giant wolf, moving at an incredible, lightning-fast speed. Naturally, I had made my move. I had been observing the entire situation, realizing that this sharp-sensed wild wolf, after being toyed with by the magic cat, had fallen straight into a blind rage. It meant he had not noticed a behemoth lurking nearby at all. As for the magic cat, that little one was always the carefree type. So, while the green giant wolf's attention was entirely focused on the magic cat, I seized the perfect opportunity. I launched a sneak attack. Having been empowered, my icy energy carried a truly terrifying force. The moment I struck the green giant wolf, it tore his body apart. I finished him off clean and swift. With a thud, the corpse of the green giant wolf fell to the ground. Motionless, I remained cool and composed, walking directly up to the carcass. I prepared to extract the energy core. When my icy energy appeared, the magic cat had already stopped. Now it turned back and trotted over to my side. With big eyes wide open, it gazed at me, full of curiosity, not showing a hint of fear. Suddenly, I grew quite interested in this little friend who just helped me out. I paused my movements and looked back. I knew this little one was not stupid, but rather confident in its own power, which is why it was so fearless. The magic cat, though lacking overwhelming offensive strength, possessed extraordinary self-preservation abilities, surpassing most wild beasts. I even knew that, compared to most beasts I have faced till now, despite its significant power, I did not have enough confidence to successfully hunt down the magic cat. Besides, I never had any intention to kill it anyway. Right then and there, I recalled some rumors I would heard in my past life. I swiped my tiger claws a few times, and dug out the green giant wolf's golden energy core. Then I turned and handed it to the magic cat. From the very moment we met, neither of us had made a single sound, along with the carcass of the giant green wolf nearby. It felt somewhat eerie, however, neither of them seemed to mind. In my previous life, I had heard a lot about the magic cat. One specific detail drove me to take my previous action. Rumor has it that this little guy absolutely loves devouring gold cores, and that famous ice phoenix used this exact trick to tame the magic cat. I was not sure if the magic cat's growth was like mine, requiring a similar method, but it was worth a shot to reel it in. Besides, the green wolf's ability was only C rank, so I did not care much for it. Giving it to the magic cat as bait was a simple enough plan. The magic cat, though it looked like it was just hovering in mid-air randomly, kept a close eye on my every move. It knew clearly that a tiger capable of one-shotting a giant green wolf was overwhelmingly powerful. One slip, and it could be dead in an instant. So when it saw me toss the green wolf's gold core, the loot that rightfully belonged to it, over its way, it froze in shock, recovering its senses. The magic cat immediately approached me. It placed a tiny paw on the gold core. Seeing I had no intention of stopping it, it snatched up the crystal with glee, and as if afraid I might change my mind, it swallowed it in one gulp. Meow. It devoured the core. The magic cat subconsciously let out a sound of pure bliss. It dropped directly to the ground, as if going to sleep, beginning to digest the energy within the core. In a moment, the magic cat's body erupted with a brilliant purple glow. That light was hazy, yet blindingly bright. As time passed, it enveloped the magic cat's petite frame, slowly lifting it up. Its aura, after consuming the green wolf's energy, the gold core, began to rise steadily. If my senses had not been sharp enough, I might not have even noticed. It could boost its power just by relying on gold cores. No wonder it craves them. I knew. Not all savage beasts were interested in gold cores. The magic cat was unique in its ability to harness them for growth. A while later, it had finished digesting the entire gold core. It quickly morphed back into a ball of purple light, spinning wildly around the area. Soon, it returned to my side in its purple form, bobbing up and down, left and right, circling around me. It seemed to be expressing its gratitude. Meow, 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 the magic cat finally let out several joyous chirps. As a streak of purple light flashed before my eyes, I could even feel the magic cat's soft fur. At that moment, my heart filled with joy. My intuition was spot on. That gold core had already made the magic cat take a liking to me. An hour later, I set off on the road again. The giant green wolf's carcass was now left in tatters. Most of its flesh had ended up in my belly, and right behind me, a purple beam of light followed closely. That purple beam was none other than the magic cat, flitting about my periphery. In short, there was never a dull moment. Sha Fan did not interfere with that. Having already subdued the green giant wolf from earlier, he had successfully gained the favor of the magic cat, and coaxed her to tag along with him. Meow. At that moment, the magic cat let out a chirp. Sha Fan looked over, seeing her tilting her head, her wide eyes filled with curiosity. He paused, and raised a paw to point toward the great wilderness mountain range. Their communication was just that simple, yet enough for the other to understand the gist of it. And since this magic cat was naturally curious, she had already taken an interest in him. Sha Fan believed, as long as he kept offering her energy crystals from time to time, he would gradually win her over. When that time came, he would possess a powerful beast support, a true force to be reckoned with. Things like this could not be rushed. Sha Fan looked at the magic cat frolicking beside him, thinking to himself, there is plenty of time. I have all the time in the world, as long as there are enough resources. I can tame her. After all, haste makes waste. Setting his mind on it, Sha Fan instinctively picked up the pace, though he did not express his intentions to the magic cat. She followed along without any effort, and so, one tiger and one cat, in a single file, headed toward the great wilderness mountain range. Meanwhile, back at the imperial capital, it was time to decide on the second experiment. Inside the massive laboratory, Professor Sha Xingyu, dressed in his lab coat, stood before a gigantic transparent wall. In his sight was a bare-chested, muscular soldier. The words just now came from his assistant nearby. Sha Xingyu withdrew his gaze, looking at his assistant. During this period, to capture the beasts, we have already lost so many soldiers. I had originally thought to capture a live beast whenever possible, as it would be more beneficial for future research. But the beasts, once mutated, become violently savage. Even if they perish alongside our soldiers, they would never surrender. Therefore, the results of this hard-fought research are exceptionally precious. Professor Sha, we all understand this. The assistant replied with a solemn expression. Understood. To fight against these unpredictable mutated beasts, Sha Xingyu and the troops supporting his research have paid a heavy price. Initially, the first subject was Professor Sha's own son, but he died immediately after the first experiment. Sha Xingyu endured the grief and continued the experiments, and using his own son's data, he further enhanced the formula, researching a serum more suitable for human consumption. Let us begin. Sha Xingyu remained silent for a long time, before nodding, saying, start the second enhancement serum experiment. Start the countdown. As soon as he spoke, all the researchers surrounding him sprang into action. One researcher placed the glass vial containing the red serum inside the transparent chamber and handed it to the soldier inside. He turned back seriously. Xu Heng, this vial of enhancement serum is what Professor Sha derived from the beast's energy crystals, and those synthesized from the blood genes. You are a soldier who has fought against ferocious beasts before. You understand the horror of those monsters. Once you consume the serum, there is a high chance you might die. So, before we begin the experiment, I want to ask you one more time. Are you willing to become this experiment's subject? I am willing, now. Xu Heng's expression was unshakably determined. The reason he applied to be the test subject for the enhancement serum was because he had participated in an operation to hunt down a beast, and watched with his own eyes as his comrades and brothers died at the hands of the monsters. Although Xu Heng survived by sheer luck, he lost a leg in the process. From the moment I woke up in the hospital, I swore an oath, as long as I draw breath, I will fight those beasts to the bitter end. But I know, ordinary human strength cannot contend with those monsters. Only by becoming like them will I have a chance to fight those animals and avenge my brothers. Good. I also hope you can successfully be transformed by the serum. The researcher nodded, handing the serum over to him. But caution one last time. I will attach sensors to your body to monitor your vitals in a moment. 10 minutes later, you must swallow the enhancement serum. The experiment officially begins. Outside the glass wall, Professor Sha Xingyu looked at the busy staff, his expression grave. When his assistant returned to his side, his gaze remained fixed. He said, the beast's genes are incredibly powerful. Just a drop of their blood could cause humans to fall ill or even perish. Compared to them, we humans are simply too fragile. Indeed, the assistant nodded slightly, full of profound worry. I have heard that the largest caliber bullets no longer cause any damage to the monsters. So, the only hope to defeat them rests with you, Professor Sha. It rests with all of us. Professor Sha, tell me, can this enhancement serum unlock the human genetic code and allow us to awaken extraordinary abilities like theirs? Previous failed attempts have been a huge blow to everyone. Professor Sha has even fallen ill because of it. If this one fails, their experiments will likely be shut down. At that point, the government will resort to force to resolve the threat. And if they can't, then we will just be slowly wiped out by the monsters. It will definitely work. In Professor Sha Xingyu's eyes, a look of determination and confidence gradually emerged. This enhancement serum has greatly reduced the harmful components found in the monster's blood and cores, while simultaneously retaining the ability to unlock our genetic sequence. Though after taking the serum, one will feel immense pain. It is a necessary trial. The 10 minutes passed very quickly. Professor Shaw watched as the last second ticked down, then shouted orders for all departments to prepare to collect data. The subject can start consuming the serum. The experiment begins. Xu Heng nodded, and without a moment of hesitation, threw his head back, swallowing a vial of the enhancement serum. He stood there, perfectly still. Professor Shaw and the others watched with bated breath, eyes locked, unblinking. Soon, the serum began its work. Under the influence of the drug, Xu Heng's body turned crimson. Record every change in the clinical trial data immediately. Test subject's heart rate is accelerating. Adrenaline levels are skyrocketing. Oxygen saturation dropping. Following the ingestion of the enhancement serum, the researchers diligently monitored his vital signs and logged every single data point, preparing for future experiments. Suddenly, after consuming the serum, Xu Heng let out a piercing, gut-wrenching scream. He began clawing violently at his own skin, as if something were trying to burst out from within. The agony was written all over him. Before long, bloody gash marks appeared all over Xu Heng's body. What is this? Has it failed? Outside the chamber, Professor Shaw witnessed the scene. He could not help but furrow his brow. Deep down, he was beyond anxious. Just then, a strange sound echoed from Xu Heng's body. That sound, it was clear enough for everyone to hear. It sounded like bones snapping. The faces of everyone in the room changed instantly. The atmosphere grew increasingly heavy. Moments later, bursts of flames began to envelop Xu Heng's entire body, turning him into a living torch in an instant. But fortunately, these flames posed no threat to the soldiers. Professor, it is taking effect. The assistant was visibly excited. He could not wait to demand from Xu Heng how he was feeling. He pressed against the glass wall, eyes wide, staring intensely at Xu Heng, attempting to discern any physical changes. However, the flames were exceptionally eerie. Standard equipment could not detect anything at all. He had no choice but to wait patiently. It is a success, seeing this sight. Professor Shaw was overjoyed. He watched Xu Heng with unparalleled excitement. After a moment of hesitation, he leaned into the microphone and asked Xu Heng inside the lab, "How are you feeling now? And what was that sound from earlier?" The enhancement serum that Professor Shaw developed, codenamed Blazing Flame, was derived from the flame-awakened powers of a beast's crystal core, combined with biological genetic research. Although the violent components of the beast's power were stripped away, it remained highly unstable. Perhaps the flames rising from Xu Heng's body were just a fleeting spark that would eventually burn him to ashes. If so, this experiment would result in a failure. Luckily, Xu Heng responded quickly. "Professor, I feel great right now." He stood in place, feeling the intensity of the flames with overwhelming excitement. He continued, "The serum did not just modify my genes. It even repaired my mangled body." At that moment, Professor Shaw and his team shifted their gaze downward, only to see that Xu Heng's long-lost left leg had reappeared, though it manifested in the form of flames. Great, that is truly wonderful." Professor Shaw finally sighed with relief. He eagerly followed up with more questions. "So, can you control the flames burning over your body now? Don't be so hasty. Focus and feel the power within you. Try to rein it in." Xu Heng nodded slightly. He set his mind on suppressing the flames. As soon as the thought crossed his mind, the flames instantly receded into his body. The ambient temperature dropped immediately. However, the phantom flames that had formed his left leg did not vanish. He took a few steps. Clenching his fist, he threw a fierce punch forward. Snap! The flames erupted instantly, sending sparks flying. A burst of fire, shaped just like his fist, struck a glass bottle ahead. The moment it made contact, the bottle shattered, eventually melting into liquid. It seems that after taking the enhancement serum, Xu Heng has successfully awakened his own fire ability. Witnessing this, Professor Sha Xingyu could barely contain his excitement, clapping his hands in applause. The other researchers exchanged joyful glances. He could not hold it back anymore. "Professor Shaw, I feel like there is a massive flame inside me that I can control at will." Finished speaking, Xu Heng focused his intent, simultaneously launching a forward charge. The flames followed his arms, quickly condensing, transforming into two roaring beasts. "Give him a steel plate to test his power." As Professor Shaw's voice fell, a steel plate as thick as an arm was brought in. Xu Heng held his breath and concentrated, gathering his strength to its peak, then threw a punch. With a loud boom, the steel plate vibrated violently. The spot where it met his punch looked as if it had been melted away, leaving a huge crater. The temperature was extremely high. "Excellent. This experiment is a total success." Professor Shaw observed the results, nodding with satisfaction. "I reckon that Xu Heng now is capable of fighting a newly evolved beast." A moment later, Xu Heng had recovered. He dressed and walked out, a new sense of confidence in his eyes. He bowed solemnly to Professor Shaw. Thank you, Professor Shaw, for making this possible. From now on, I will fight these beasts to the death. Good, good. Go rest for a while, and get familiar with the power you have gained. I believe we will have use for you soon. Xu Heng rested in a special room, taking the time to familiarize himself with his power. Beside Professor Shaw, several more soldiers gathered to receive the enhancement serum. Professor Shaw looked at them earnestly and said, "Everyone, thank you for your contributions to this experiment. Let us get straight to it. Begin." These soldiers swallowed the enhancement serum without hesitation. But when the final results appeared, the initial excitement of the group gradually faded. Professor Shaw looked at the one or two remaining soldiers, muttering, "It seems not everyone who takes the enhancement serum can successfully awaken. Perhaps it is due to individual genetic differences, or perhaps a conflict with the beast-type properties. The chances of success are less than 1 in 4. The soldier standing by broke out in a light sweat and whispered, "This is already not bad. At the very least, it can give humanity the power to stand against the beasts." At this moment, Sha Fan finally arrived at the foot of the great wilderness mountain range. The moment he reached this place, he could clearly feel the aura of various ferocious beasts coming from within the forests. He gazed toward the mountain woods in front of him, muttering to himself, as expected of a place that can give birth to the heavenly origin fruit tree, I am afraid all sorts of other natural treasures are born here as well, giving rise to a large number of powerful beasts. He knows that compared to humans, aside from the advantage of innate physical constitution, the evolution speed of beasts is even faster, and with these natural treasures in this wilderness, they have certainly helped them quite a lot. Meow, 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 the magic cat sensed something, and let out a worried cry. It seemed to be a bit afraid of entering the great wilderness mountain range. It snuggled close to Sha Fan, no longer as lively as before. Hearing these cries, Sha Fan let out a low roar, which meant, "Don't worry, with me protecting you, there is nothing to be afraid of." After spending this much time together, the tiger and the cat have reached a point where they can carry out some basic communication. Both of them can understand the basic meaning behind each other's calls. Great wilderness mountain range. Sha Fan and the magic cat, this tiger-cat duo, only paused for a brief moment before heading straight into the mountain range. Seeking the location of that ancient tree, they had not gone far when Sha Fan saw a beast blocking their path ahead, and the moment it saw them, it spat a water arrow at him. Looks like it wants to fight to the death. HMPH, petty tricks. Seeing this, Sha Fan snorted disdainfully internally. He simply swiped it away, shattering the incoming water arrow with a single paw. Before the beast could even react, he rushed forward and struck it down with one claw. They did not stop their progress because of this. In no time at all, another beast crawled out from the brush and blocked the way. Sha Fan narrowed his eyes slightly. He discovered it was a bird with vibrant feathers, 2 meters tall, a distinct and arrogant mountain chicken. Squawk, squawk, the moment it appeared. The chicken let out a piercing screech, then ferociously flapped its wings and charged over. Seeing this, Sha Fan stood still, as if he were stunned. The chicken's confidence grew even more. When it was about 3 meters away from Sha Fan, it suddenly leapt high and clawed at him with its sharp talons, as if it wanted to tear him to pieces. The next second, Sha Fan extended one sharp claw and swiped out with ease. With just a single strike, the chicken was swatted away by his tiger paw. Before it even hit the ground, its body was torn into 2 halves, and after a few twitches, it stopped breathing. Sha Fan skillfully extracted the golden core from the chicken, not even bothering to glance at it, and threw it directly to the magic cat behind him. Immediately, the magic cat let out a happy cry, caught the golden grain gleefully, and swallowed it in one gulp. The strength of these beasts is not high, and the energy within their golden cores is also very low. They are not even worth Sha Fan's time. At this moment, he roared lowly, meaning to tell the magic cat to follow behind. "Little one, there is a perk for you." Magic Cat was clearly in a great mood. It kept emitting joyful chirps. It was naturally a bit mischievous and lazy by nature. Usually, when it provoked other beasts, it was just to mess with them. It never had any intention of stealing their loot. Now, it had not even lifted a finger yet, but it easily obtained a bounty. Who knows how happy it was? Because of this, its attitude toward me became increasingly affectionate. Before the bounty it had just snatched was even digested, Magic Cat morphed into a ball of purple light, landing right on my back. It seemed as if it was saying, "Thanks for the treat, big brother tiger." After a soft purr, it stretched its head out to nuzzle against me intimately, expressing its inner joy and gratitude. Looks like my choice was the right one. I felt a surge of delight. My gaze softened as I looked at Magic Cat. I knew this little one was gradually starting to rely on me. Taming it completely is just around the corner. At this moment, I let out an excited roar. Magic Cat understood the meaning in my tone. "Little guy, I did not lie to you, right? Just stick with me. and there will be plenty more good things for you later." The response was another affectionate nuzzle from Magic Cat, accompanied by a few soft chirps. I possess the Devour ability. I can rely on it to consume a vast amount of other energies. My combat power is terrifying precisely because of this. If I can secure Magic Cat support down the road, that would be like adding wings to a tiger. And the price for obtaining all of this was just some low-tier loot I did not need. This deal was an absolute steal for me. "Roar, let us move." Afterward, I let out a low growl, and with Magic Cat in tow, we continued heading deep into the great wilderness mountain range. The blood rain has been falling for a while now. The wild beasts in the mountain forests have basically finished their purification. The further I go into the depths of the range, the stronger the beasts I encounter become, and from time to time I even run into stage 1 mid-level beasts. My journey was originally quite dull. As I walked, I would glance at Magic Cat by my side from time to time. I felt quite emotional, but with this little guy joining me, even though I do not need its help to actually kill the beasts, ultimately I have a companion. It is not as boring as it used to be. I have discovered that even though I am a beast now, in the short term, I still can't get used to living all by myself. The appearance of Magic Cat happens to fill that gap. Upon hearing the meaning in my roar, Magic Cat began happily spinning around me, dashing ahead from time to time, or frolicking all around. Its spirits were very high. Not long after, Magic Cat halted its steps. It returned to my side with extreme vigilance, and let out a warning chirp. "So you mean there are beasts lurking ahead? And more than one, right?" Having received confirmation, I immediately stopped in my tracks. My tiger eyes became sharp, scanning my surroundings. Sure enough, the next second, a gray wolf with a noticeably larger frame appeared in my line of sight. I just cast a glance over, and that one look made the gray wolf subconsciously back away. Fear flickered in their eyes. But then, more and more wild wolves emerged from the surrounding brush. I did a rough count. To my surprise, there were over 10 of them, and every single one of them was baring their fangs at me and Magic Cat. A thick, palpable hostility radiated from them. Wolves are pack animals. They always travel and hunt in groups, whether for hunting or migrating. In my line of sight, this pack had essentially completed their evolution, and their evolved abilities were all quite similar. They possessed the ability to breathe fire. Suddenly, one of the gray wolves grew impatient. Flames erupted instantly, igniting the nearby thicket. I remained perfectly calm. Seeing this pack of wild wolves closing in on me, I let out a low growl, warning them to back off immediately. But this pack would not back down. Among them, there was a leader over 3 meters long, and about 1.5 meters tall. It crouched low as it stepped into my view. Already a first-order beast, the Wolf King unleashed a deafening roar, and the pack lunged forward. They were determined to take me down. HMPH, a bunch of fools who do not know their place. Seeing this, I snorted coldly in my heart. Without a shred of fear, I now possess multiple abilities, and I am at the late stage of the First Order. These wild wolves can't do a thing to me, meow. At that moment, Magic Cat, seeing me being bullied by these wolves, let out an angry cry, then transformed into a purple light and dove into my body. Instantly, I felt my strength surging rapidly, reaching the level of a second-order beast. A sudden wave of joy washed over me. I could not help but think, is this the power of Magic Cat's ultimate support ability? Come on, let us crush these enemies together. Half the credit goes to you. With the boost from Magic Cat, I felt absolutely magnificent. I let out a few low grunts to convey my feelings to her. I am currently at the second order stage. Face to face with this pack, I held absolute power. To me, they were nothing more than ants. And to test the full extent of Magic Cat's abilities, I did not hold back anymore. I charged straight in, acting like an unstoppable force of nature. Facing this overwhelming power, the wolf pack did not stand a chance. With just one swat of my paw, a first-order giant wolf was crushed to bits. Even the Wolf King could not withstand 2 blows, and was sent to meet his maker. In an instant, the wolf pack was wiped out by me. The surrounding area was littered with wolf carcasses. In the midst of all this, I made a much more important discovery. After Magic Cat and I finished our fusion, I gently nudged her with my head, a rumbling sound echoing in my throat. "You are a good kid, you know that. I love you," I growled softly, expressing exactly that to Magic Cat. During the fight, I was pleasantly shocked to find that Magic Cat did not just boost my strength, she also provided me with a defensive shield. With the support of that shield, not even the Wolf King could easily break through, and I have total confidence. As my synergy with the Magic Cat grows, so does our strength. This defensive shield will only get tougher. And that is not all. Beyond just the barrier, the Magic Cat can also heal my wounds. You could say, having her is like carrying a mobile fountain of life. The Magic Cat is essentially an all-around supporter. How could I not favor her? After wiping out the entire pack of giant wolves, I started scouting the battlefield. I gathered all the essence crystals from the wolves, and shared a few with the magic cat. She was beyond thrilled, holding onto them tightly, refusing to let go. These crystals will keep boosting my power. At this moment, I looked at the Wolf King's crystal before me, narrowed my eyes for a split second, and swallowed it without hesitation. As my devour ability took effect, I quickly digested the energy within the crystal. A brand new B-grade ability was acquired, Blazing Flame Control. I can now manipulate the size and intensity of fire at will, breathing out scorching flames, turning everything in my path to ash. After gaining a rough understanding of this ability, I did not dwell on it further, because for me, it is more important to foster our bond right now. That is how I can increase my power even faster. To achieve the grand goals I have set. Meow, just a tiger and a cat, communicating through our own sounds. After this cooperation, I know my relationship with the magic cat has become much closer. I could not help but feel delighted. I glanced at the magic cat curled up on me, her guard completely down. I thought to myself, looks like I have successfully tamed the magic cat for now. This is great. After a brief rest, the two of us, a tiger and a cat, continued deep into the great wilderness mountain range. Along the way, we kept running into quite a few fierce beasts, including some that I found rather tricky to handle. But luckily, every time that happened, the magic cat would readily merge with me, granting me the absolute power to crush those intruders. Even if I got injured, I could get treated by the magic cat immediately. It feels so good, after taking down another beast. I could not help but let out an excited low growl. These few fights have helped me fully realize all the benefits of merging with the magic cat. I am feeling absolutely unstoppable. Plus, I made a startling discovery. After merging with the magic cat, we seem to have developed a subtle connection. Although we still can't speak the same language, it is easy for us to understand what the other is thinking, as if our minds are linked. Magic cat, move out. Let us keep pushing forward. All right, big brother tiger. She simply expressed her thoughts, and we both clearly understood the other's intent. We get along much more harmoniously now. So, in the time that followed, our journey was no longer tedious, and I did not have to guess the meaning behind her calls. Our communication became seamless. Big brother tiger, why do we keep heading deeper into the mountains? To become even stronger. Don't you want that? Of course I do. But will I always have those gold wings? Haha, of course. Moving forward, they were conversing quite animatedly, but what they failed to notice was, high above the great wilderness mountain range, several bird-like drones were flying through the air, while recording everything happening in the great wilderness. The great wilderness belongs to the Tianning City region. At this moment, inside a conference room in Tianning City, several military officers were watching the feed from the drones. The screen showed a golden fruit tree. One look and you could tell it holds incredible value. That is a real treasure. An officer pointed at the depths of the great wilderness on the screen, where the golden tree stood on the mountain peak, and said with excitement, "Look quickly, there are still a few golden fruits hanging on it. Could this be a fabled divine treasure?" Another officer could not hide his excitement either. He wished he could rush to that mountain peak in the great wilderness right now, and see it for himself. It is no wonder they were excited. The reason the Tianning City military gathered here and dispatched drones to explore the great wilderness is because lately, quite a few people living in rural areas or deep in the wild, whether by fate or by accident, had consumed these divine treasures. These people were quite lucky. After consuming them, they awakened extraordinary powers, powers capable of rivaling even the fiercest beasts. Gradually, these evolved humans caught the military's attention. After an investigation, they realized it was all thanks to these treasures. So, the military began keeping a close eye on any reports of treasures blooming across the country. It should be correct. The leading officer nodded slightly. Though he was thrilled, he remained more composed than the others. He asked how much battery life the drone had left. Plus, I heard flying beasts are starting to appear. What if they target our drones as prey? A subordinate officer quickly reported. Before we sent the drones out, we used camouflage. At the very least, from a distance, they look no different from birds. Just their movements are a bit stiff. And as the chief previously instructed, the Great Wilderness is our city's largest mountain range. So naturally, it demands top priority. Therefore, we have been vigilant. Once the battery drops below 50%, we will pilot them back immediately. Good, your planning is spot on. Hearing this, the chief nodded in satisfaction, a smile spreading across his face. His gaze remained locked on the golden tree on screen. He seemed a bit uneasy, adding a stern reminder. This treasure is clearly of immense value. We absolutely cannot let it fall into the hands of the beasts. No matter what it takes, we must secure it. The officers, hearing this command, instantly stood up, saluted the chief, and vowed with serious expressions. It is not just a reckless impulse that we dare to take such action, charging into battle blindly. A short while ago, the enhancement formula developed by Professor Xia Xingyu was declassified. Though the early days of hunting beasts were filled with hardships, many lives were sacrificed, but it was all worth it. With the formula for the enhancement serum, combined with essence crystals obtained from mutant beasts, and genetic bloodline data, we can cultivate our own human superpowered beings. No. Tianning City has its own superpowered units too. With the special forces joining hands, we can easily take down ordinary mutant beasts. The chief pondered for a moment, then urged them again. Remember, this time deploy the special forces directly. You must secure that heavenly treasure at all costs. That is the only way to keep fighting the beasts and curb their rate of growth. Understood, sir. Soon, a special forces squad composed of human superpowered beings departed immediately from the Tianning City base. Target, the golden fruit tree. Big Brother Tiger, are we there yet? At this moment, seeing the magic cat slow its pace, I cast my tiger eyes across the surroundings. I could not help but communicate with it. Upon learning this information, I nodded slightly, responding to the kiddo. Yes, we are almost there. My words carried a hint of reflection. After slaughtering that pack of wild wolves, it took me most of the day, killing countless beasts along the way, before I finally brought the magic cat to the depths of the great wilderness mountain range. However, this little one, apart from merging with me to fight, spends all her time lounging on my back. It really did not tire her out. I sensed the magic cat's eagerness, so I quickly sent a message. Don't be impatient. Let us figure out the situation here first. There is a powerful beast guarding this place. If we rush in blindly, it is only us who will suffer. Are you talking about the guy under that fruit tree? I followed her gaze to see gold glinting atop the mountain peak. A golden fruit tree stood proudly, looking truly extraordinary. This golden fruit tree was none other than the heavenly origin spirit tree, and right beside the tree lay the massive creature the magic cat had spotted. It was a colossal beast. Its 7 to 8 meter long body was covered in a layer of purple crystals, shimmering like gemstones. Under the sunlight, the purple crystals gleamed brilliantly, looking quite piercing, making it unbearable to stare directly at. The beast's head was the head of a lion. Deep within those blood-red eyes dwelled beastly pupils glowing with a strange purple light. Its jaws were filled with razor-sharp fangs, as if one bite could tear anything apart. On top of the giant beast's lion head, there was even a fiery red, spiraling horn. Is this guy the purple gold lion king? Having seen the appearance of the massive beast, I could not help but to sigh. That purple gold lion king was simply a natural-born sovereign. Just by its very existence, it exerted an aura of superiority over other beasts. I believe the purple gold lion king at this moment could lay so peacefully and rest under the heavenly origin spirit tree. It must have gone through a brutal massacre and successfully intimidated the other beasts so that I can monopolize the heavenly origin spirit tree. He still remembered my previous life. This purple gold lion king was a famously ferocious beast king, and it was thanks to the heavenly origin spirit tree that it built up a powerful army of beasts, ruling over this entire region. It was truly formidable. Should we not head over there? The magic cat let out a soft meow, as if whispering. However, with the tiger and cat now able to communicate effectively, I understood exactly what the little one meant. I shook my head slightly, and responded with a low growl. No rush. We must first determine the full strength of the purple gold lion king before we take any action. If we were to blindly charge in, let alone snatching the heavenly origin spirit tree, our lives might be at stake. The magic cat said nothing more. It remained quiet for a long while, then suddenly called out, Big Brother Tiger, shall I go take a look? I am small, and I am very fast, as long as I do not make a huge commotion. The purple gold lion king definitely will not be able to detect me. Hearing this, I could not help but fall into deep thought. We were still a considerable distance from the summit. This place, though I could sense the aura of the purple gold lion king, it was very weak, and it kept flickering. It was completely impossible to gauge its true strength. If the magic cat went to scout it out, I felt a sense of urgency. With that, I glanced sideways at the eager magic cat, then gave a soft, gravelly growl. Go ahead. Be careful yourself. Do not let yourself be discovered. I will slowly follow behind you. Once you have determined the exact strength of the purple gold lion king, return immediately. In an instant, a streak of purple light darted off, staying close to the ground. It did not cause much noise at all. Seeing this, I felt slightly relieved. Then I lowered my body, slowly creeping toward the purple gold lion king. About a minute later, the magic cat returned. It immediately whispered with bated breath, "I have figured it out. The strength of that purple gold lion king has already reached the late stage of Yijing. It is not much weaker than you." "Is that so?" I murmured. My expression shifted slightly, as expected of a famous king-level beast from my previous life. "It is truly extraordinary. However, this purple gold lion king must have consumed some kind of natural treasure to possess such strength." Meow meow meow. Seeing that I did not respond, the magic cat looked at the heavenly origin spirit tree, then back at me, calling out with some excitement. It was impatiently asking when we could start the operation. The temptation of the heavenly origin spirit tree was just too great. Moreover, I believed that with its help, I could definitely defeat the purple gold lion king. "Rest assured, as long as you help me seize the heavenly origin spirit tree, I will surely share some with you." I growled softly at the magic cat. I quickly devised a plan to handle the purple gold lion king that would not harm the heavenly origin spirit tree. "Little one, go hide to one side first, and try your best to conceal your own aura. Stay close to me. In a bit, I will lure the purple gold lion king over. Once it leaves the heavenly origin spirit tree, we strike immediately, swift and decisive. Wait, do not move yet." I lifted my head slightly, giving a few low growls, to tell Magic Cat not to start their move just yet. I kept my tiger gaze fixed, staring intently at the heavenly origin spirit tree on the peak. I needed to get a clear picture of the situation, so I would not mess up when the time came to act. I had been observing for a while, and realized the fruit was not yet fully ripe. No wonder the purple gold lion king was not in a rush. It was just resting quietly under the tree. My heart skipped a beat. Everything made sense now, and I was no longer in a hurry. I decided to patiently wait at the foot of the mountain. In the great wilderness mountain range now, besides the purple gold lion king and others, there were many hidden unknown predatory beasts lurking. Making a reckless move now would surely lead to a miserable death. Sure enough, after a short while, I noticed many powerful beasts eyeing the heavenly origin spirit tree. None of them looked like easy prey. I raised my head slightly, and my tiger eyes suddenly spotted high in the sky a massive 10-meter-long golden eagle, circling above, letting out occasional shrieks of warning. It was truly intimidating. After evolving, this golden eagle was like a fighter jet. Its massive size alone commanded absolute dominance, and its speed was incredibly fast. Must stay cautious. I did a rough calculation. If the golden eagle dove toward the spirit tree on the peak, it would only take a few seconds. It could be there in the blink of an eye. And those talons of the golden eagle looked lethal, gleaming with a cold edge. Besides the golden eagle, more beasts were rushing toward the peak. Within my line of sight, a giant python coiled halfway up the mountain. It was over 10 meters long. At its thickest point, even two grown men could not wrap their arms around it. Everywhere the giant python passed, the trees swayed violently, leaving a striking white trail on the ground. When it passed by, the plants in its wake withered instantly. That giant python was coated in poison, another tough nut to crack. I narrowed my eyes slightly, a cold glint flashing through them. My mind was racing. Generally speaking, a giant python can strangle its prey to death, crushing its bones or causing it to stop breathing. But even the trail it left behind was deadly toxic. This means I should not engage the python in close quarters combat. It is better to wait for them to start fighting each other, and let me reap the rewards like a seasoned fisherman. Suddenly, a fierce, chilling roar echoed through the air. I immediately shifted my gaze to look. I saw a giant wolf, its body enveloped in flames, howling toward the peak. It seemed to be asserting its dominance, hoping to intimidate the other predators. Tisk. For the sake of the heavenly origin spirit tree, these powerful beasts could no longer sit still. That is what I was thinking. The several beasts within his line of sight have all reached the late stage of Tier 1. To possess such strength in such a short time, clearly, their awakened bloodlines are extraordinary, and they have each had their own fortunate encounters. At this very moment, this pack of arriving beasts has all set their sights on the heavenly origin spirit tree. What a situation! A gathering of champions. It is getting more and more intense. Thinking about where to find a good spot to enjoy the show, and then seize the heavenly origin fruit while the opportunity arises. He is clear in his heart. None of these guys can stand a chance against the purple gold lion king in a one-on-one fight. Not even close. After all, the ability it awakened is S tier, extraordinarily terrifying. My magic cat has a mischievous personality. Seeing so many beasts gather here right now, she asks why I do not go up and contest for it. After all, if we do not go now, it will be too late. In response, I let out a few low growls, properly comforting her, to prevent her from acting impulsively and exposing us. Not yet, kiddo, none of those beasts are good news. going over right now. It is highly likely that they would focus their fire and kill us together. Don't be impatient. The heavenly origin spirit tree will definitely be ours. Only then does the magic cat calm down a little, but her gaze remains fixed on the heavenly origin spirit tree. At the same time, the capabilities of the purple gold lion king flash through my mind. If I remember correctly, this purple gold lion king possesses two great abilities. One of them is called purple gold crown. This ability allows the purple gold lion king to absorb solar energy, thereby strengthening itself and firing off terrifying beams of energy. Its other ability is purple gold seal. This ability is the most terrifying one, because this ability, as the name suggests, can seal the abilities of other beasts. Thinking of this, my gaze gradually becomes complex. I have not forgotten about the purple gold lion king. That guy can also fly, which makes it an overlord of both land and air. Dealing with it will be extremely tricky. Any carelessness could result in being countered and killed by it, but it is still good. I have my magic cat with me. I cast a glance at the magic cat by my side, full of confidence. After merging with the magic cat, we can reach the strength of a tier 2 beast, so we are completely capable of dealing with the purple gold lion king. Besides, it has human-like intelligence, and it is definitely not the kind of beast that only knows how to use brute force. We are on par. Keep thinking. At this moment, the corpse, the python, and the wolf all begin to emit various warnings, sounds full of intent. They have sensed the anomaly nearby, but it won't attract their extraordinary attention, because the heavenly origin spirit tree has yet to fully mature. These beasts are all waiting for the right moment. However, the rich fragrance emitted by the heavenly origin spirit tree attracts more and more beasts to rush to this place. Good guys. I just did a rough scan. Although I only saw the swaying trees, I also know that a huge number of beasts have arrived. Sure enough, as time passes, already arrived beasts have emerged one after another, approaching the mountain peak. That golden eagle has lowered its flight altitude, yet it is enough to ensure its own safety. The giant python and giant wolf are even more anxious as they speed up, eager to get closer to the heavenly origin spirit tree. Even the purple gold lion king has stood up, ending his restful state. He scans the surroundings with intense vigilance. Fierce beasts. My gaze, however, stays fixed on the heavenly origin spirit tree, filled with nothing but anticipation and greed. If I can just devour one of those fruits, I will undoubtedly break through to the second tier, resulting in a massive surge in power. Then these fierce beasts will be no match for me. But for now, things are still not quite there. When it is time to act, I know full well that with all these fierce beasts swarming here, a terrifying clash is inevitable. Nothing can stop it from happening. In the next heartbeat, a deafening boom erupts. The treasure is not ripe yet, but some beasts have already started a full-blown war. I personally witnessed a massive mountain goat with bloodshot eyes, disregarding all other fierce beasts, charging straight for the heavenly origin spirit tree. But before it could even get close, it was swiped to death by one claw from the purple gold lion king. Blood splashed on the spot in an instant. Right here, right now. The mountaintop is chaotic and rowdy. The arriving fierce beasts finally cannot hold back anymore. Like moths to a flame, they keep rushing toward the peak, attempting to seize the heavenly origin spirit tree. But they are all mercilessly slaughtered by the purple gold lion king. The silver wolf and the giant python have reached the summit, barely 10 meters from the tree. For them, it could be reached in a split second. Yet even they have not yet made a move. Even the golden eagle keeps circling in the sky, its screeching just becoming more and more desperate. Haha, fight away. The more heated the brawl, the better. Down the mountain, I watch the scene unfold, feeling more delighted by the second. That giant wolf and giant python are truly cunning. They are holding back right now, wanting to use the other beasts to drain the lion's strength. The golden eagle is acting like a high and mighty overlord, yet it keeps applying immense pressure on the other beasts every single moment. The purple gold lion king long ago treated the tree as his own private property, and since he is the closest, he naturally won't back down. I pause for a moment, mulling it over inside. If I had not been reborn as a northeast tiger, this tree would definitely belong to the lion. What a pity, what a pity. You guys fighting and killing each other will only end up working in my favor. For the time being, I do not need to keep staring at the mountaintop or fixating on that spirit tree. After all, the sound of violent collisions keeps echoing in my ears, meaning the battle between the beasts has not ended yet. Soon, the second day arrives. I lazily open my tiger eyes, look left and right, and casually take down a fierce beast. I share my breakfast with the magic cat. At this point, Fierce beasts are practically everywhere. No need to go looking for them myself. An hour later, the heavenly origin spirit tree suddenly releases a burst of piercing golden light, nearly painting the entire sky above the peak. The flash dazes many of the beasts for a moment. I stare at it for a while, and then pull my gaze back. I know this is a sign that the fruit is about to ripen. So I grunt a few times to the magic cat. The battle is about to begin. You help me seize the heavenly origin fruit tree. We split the loot as we agreed. Magic cat let out a sharp cry. Without a moment's hesitation, I chose to merge with it. Instantly, an aura unique to a Tier 2 beast erupted. I was a blur, charging straight for the summit. My speed was unparalleled. As I sprinted, I cast a glance at the other vicious beasts nearby. They could not contain themselves anymore either. They were all rushing toward the peak. Looking up again, the golden eagle, silver python, and firewolf were leading the pack. These late-stage beasts were charging in the front. They soon clashed with the purple-gold lion king. Instantly, the peak echoed with their screeching cries. Beams of light flashed everywhere. The major battle had finally begun. I let out a fierce roar, signaling Magic Cat to shield me, ready to dive into the fray. But just then, I suddenly halted my steps. I threw my head back, looking up with a hint of surprise. Boom, boom, boom. A fleet of helicopters suddenly appeared in the sky. Their chaotic noise mixed with gale force winds slammed down. The humans have arrived too. I could not help but scoff. I did not really care about these human forces showing up. Things are getting more interesting. Originally, it was just a fight between us beasts. But now humans are sticking their noses in it. This is bound to change the current situation. The purple gold lion king, the golden eagle, they should put aside their feud for a bit and deal with the humans together. I knew that back before the blood rain. There was already an inherent divide between humans and beasts. Now that the beasts have evolved into vicious monsters, their power has surged, and their hatred for humanity has naturally grown along with it. Once they meet, it is going to be a bloodbath. Drop the bombs. On one of the choppers, a military officer in full gear saw that they were directly above the beasts, and immediately shouted into his radio, "Blow these animals to smithereens. Watch your drop zones. Stay as far away from the heavenly origin fruit tree as possible. Don't damage this rare treasure." Every soldier on the helicopters rushed to untie the explosive bundles and drop them down. Instantly, a massive barrage of explosives hailed down like a storm. Boom. The moment these explosives hit the ground, they detonated. The sheer, terrifying energy contained within was enough to blast the nearby beasts into pieces. In the blink of an eye, flesh and blood flew everywhere. The vicious beasts near the heavenly origin fruit tree were mostly wiped out in an instant. As for me, rushing up the mountain, I suddenly saw a cluster of explosives rolling toward me. I let out a low growl and leapt aside. Magic Cat immediately added another layer of protection. Boom, boom, boom. The consecutive sounds of explosions echoed deafeningly. My figure soon emerged from the smoke and dust, completely unharmed. Just a bit of grime stuck to my fur. Looking a bit messy, that is all. Under Magic Cat's protection. Peaceful yet dull. What a joke. At this moment, Sha Fan lifted his head, casting a cold glance at the helicopter in the sky. These humans, do they really think they can handle the vicious beasts here? They have no clue about the true power of these creatures. Predictable. The instant the explosions ceased, the golden eagle was provoked by the humans' actions. With a shrill cry, it flapped its wings with immense force. Golden blades of light shot toward the helicopter. It struck the aircraft directly. The chopper went down in a plume of thick black smoke. Amidst the wreckage, one could hear the panicked, fearful screams of the soldiers. Those golden blades proved its feathers were not only sturdy, but razor sharp. Atop the peak, the purple gold lion king was surrounded by electrical purple energy. In a brilliant flash, a beam of purple light erupted from its maw. The pilot sensed the danger, desperately trying to maneuver away, but it was already too late. With a thunderous boom, the beam pierced straight through the helicopter. Like before, it helplessly plummeted to the ground, tearing itself apart in mid-air. As for the soldiers on board, they perished the moment the purple light struck. In this first encounter, the humans suffered a heavy toll. Damn it, how did this happen? The officer had narrowly dodged disaster, but he was gripped by extreme terror. I never imagined these animals could have evolved to this level. Even though we are awakened ones fully capable of rivaling beasts, we are still no match for them. No more senseless sacrifices. With that thought, The officer grabbed the radio, roaring orders to the remaining airworthy helicopters to retreat. Fall back, we underestimated the beast's strength. We must leave now, and not just him. The rest of the human special ability squad was also in shock. Upon receiving the officer's command, they did not hesitate to pilot their aircraft, fleeing the scene in a hurry. My turn now. At that moment, Sha Fan watched the human choppers retreat in chaos. Tiger's stride, a towering, killing intent instantly erupted. With a few bounds, he surged up the mountain peak. An aura of absolute dominance instantly suppressed the remaining injured beasts. They dared not even move. The Tiger King has descended. None shall defy me. The current struggle between the beasts for the heavenly origin fruit has reached a fever pitch. However, were it not for the humans dropping those explosives, this clash would not have reached its climax so soon. Up on the peak, the purple gold Lion King firmly guarded the heavenly origin spirit tree behind him. It was visibly covered in wounds of all sizes. Scarlet blood slowly stained its fur. Seeing this, the three powerful beasts had a glint of ferocity in their eyes. They had fought to the death for the tree. It was no easy feat to maneuver the mighty purple gold Lion King into an ambush, causing its strength to plummet. Such a God-given opportunity. No beast wanted to pass up. Yet these beasts were cunning. Using their own superior power, they maneuvered the weaker beasts to do the bidding. Continue the siege on the purple gold Lion King. They are practically begging for death. That purple gold Lion King. At this moment, I had already merged with the magic cat on the battlefield, instantly seeing through the true motives of these savage beasts. But this very scenario was exactly what I wanted to see. Right on cue, the fire wolf opened its maw, spewing out intensely scorching flames, charging straight toward the purple gold Lion King. I seized the perfect timing. Under the orchestrated siege of several beasts, the purple gold Lion King could only block one of the attacks, leaving the others impossible to parry. Sure enough, the fire wolf's flames struck the Lion King's back dead on, instantly igniting a terrifying blaze. At the same time, the golden eagle's sharp talons dove from the sky, intent on tearing into the Lion King's flesh. But they were repelled by a purple beam erupted from the beast's mouth. Precisely because of this, that the Lion King got scorched by the flames. The giant python, however, kept lurking on the periphery, occasionally spraying bursts of venom, avoiding any close-quarters combat. You are next. After assessing the battlefield situation, I immediately locked onto the giant python and charged in with full speed. I let out a few low growls, signaling the magic cat to watch out for that toxic spit and find a way to block or neutralize it. My magic cat replied immediately, the meaning clear, without extra words. Don't worry, big brother tiger. Leave it to me. I have got a way to neutralize it. Hardly had the sound of the poison splash faded, when I had already reached the giant python's side. I swiped my claws without a second thought, straight for its 7-inch fatal spot. But the python's reaction was equally swift. Almost instantly, it twisted its body, successfully shielding its 7-inch point. At the same time, it tightened its scales, denying me a clean hit, regardless of whether I critically wounded it. I pulled back immediately. In my line of sight, the python's scales flew off a great distance, streaked with droplets of blood. I succeeded. Staring intently at the beast, but soon I felt a hint of disappointment. It seemed I had only mildly wounded it. Nothing fatal. Just as I collided with the python moments ago, the magic cat had unleashed its protective barrier and healing abilities, instantly clearing my body of the poison I had brushing contact with. Otherwise, I would definitely have been injured. Not bad at all. I gave the magic cat a low growl of approval, and it chirped back happily, looking incredibly smug. Since the giant python is that troublesome, I immediately changed my target, switching my ire to the fire wolf. HMPH, so you can breathe fire. I can too, I roared in defiance. Suddenly, heaven-shaking flames erupted from my body. The fire wolf acted as if it had been challenged, surging with even more terrifying flames, wanting to go head-to-head with me. But what it did not expect was, my flames suddenly receded like an ebbing tide. Just as the fire wolf hesitated in shock, I slightly opened my mouth. Ice breath. A chilling whistle of wind sliced through, as the frost housing pure glacial power struck the fire wolf, seizing its movements in sudden paralysis. While its own flames were briefly surged in confusion, he showed nothing but disdain for this. After all, he was an expert at playing with fire. This frost was going to melt away soon. But what terrified the fire wolf the most was, Sha Fan actually unleashed flames once more, and aimed them straight at the frost upon its body. Hey, let us see you handle this. Sha Fan let out a smug chuckle, finally realizing, among these few fierce beasts, the fire wolf, looking so imposing and fierce, was actually the easiest to deal with. The frost power it just spat out could be neutralized by the firewolf itself without any issue, since it could master the force within it. But after my impact, the firewolf's own flames were suppressed, giving the frost free rein and letting it invade its body directly. Sure enough, as the flames gradually subsided, Sha Fan saw the firewolf stumble, nearly unable to stand steady. Taking this chance, he immediately rushed forward again, his tiger claws gleaming with a golden, radiant light, like an indestructible, legendary weapon, driving directly into the firewolf's throat, adding the berserk effect. With the double boost from the diamond physique, the firewolf's body became as fragile as tofu, shattering at the slightest touch. It let out a few sorrowful dying whines, and in a few seconds, it could not hold on any longer, collapsing with a thunderous crash. In less than a minute, Sha Fan had finished off the firewolf. Without rushing to collect the loot, he charged right at the silver python. With his second-tier strength now, plus the berserk boost, the beasts before him were not even a challenge. Seeing this, the silver python tried to use its old trick again, attempting to stall Sha Fan with its poison liquid. Little did it know, he unleashed several bolts of lightning, striking the silver python directly. The python shrieked in agony at that moment, but before it could recover, Sha Fan's assault followed up instantly. After the lightning strike, the silver python's defense grew weak, and it was quickly torn into pieces by Sha Fan's sharp claws, meeting a miserable end right there. Watching this, that golden eagle, seeing Sha Fan swiftly kill two Fierese beasts equal in power to itself, and noticing it had also taken some damage, fled the scene instantly, disappearing without a trace. At this moment, Sha Fan took a few steps forward, to face the purple gold lion king. The latter had already been under constant attack. It was the same story when Sha Fan fought the firewolf and silver python. It had reached its absolute limit. Watching Sha Fan charge straight at him, the purple gold lion king hesitated for a moment, then immediately unleashed his ultimate move. Purple gold seal. Wait, I can't use my powers. Sha Fan was shocked, instantly feeling his own abilities fade away. He could still sense them, but he could not invoke them. Just as he was looking for a solution, he suddenly heard the magic cat meow once. The seal upon him was instantly broken. Well done, kiddo. Sha Fan was overjoyed, and after a quick word of praise, he pounced directly at the purple gold lion king. Within moments, he had finished him off. After all, without the purple gold seal to rely on, the purple gold lion king was like a toothless tiger, pitifully weak.